Welcome to a sparkling new podcast from Mike Parry and Mike Graham. We're the two Mikes.
Actually, it sounds even better when you do it Dullsville, because when you try to be happy and excited and energetic, you sound pathetic.
Thanks.
Chimpanzees love horror films.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the two Mikes on talkSPORT. It's pretty grim up north, especially in Sunderland, where they can't seem to find a manager for the new season in the Championship. The latest contender to turn it down is Derek McInnes, who decided to stay at Aberdeen despite the promise of a threefold increase in salary. Just why is David Moyes' former club so unattractive? 08717 22 3344. We'll be looking ahead to tonight's Under-21 European Championship game between England and Sweden. We'll be talking about what is going on at Everton and whether Ross Barkley is actually on his way. And also coming up on the show, it's Porky Quiz time. Today's subject of expertise is coming straight out of a box of Trivial Pursuit. We'll be giving him 12 questions at random. I'm predicting maybe 2 or 3 of them he'll get right. You're listening to the two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on talkSPORT. This is talkSPORT. We are the two Mikes, and I'm delighted to say it's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
And a very good morning to you, Mike. And if you don't mind, a moment of indulgence, please, before we start the show proper.
A moment of indulgence? What you mean, in addition to you powering into the studio on your own? Knowing that I was downstairs doing something to help somebody out.
I didn't know where you were.
Really?
But anyway, look, you can put that aside for a moment.
Thank
I want
you.
to say a very happy birthday to my mum. Joan Paris, my mum's birthday today. She's a lady of a certain age, in her 80s, but she looks as though she could only be in her 60s.
So you're not going to say what birthday it is?
Well, I'm sure my mum won't mind. She's 84 today,
84.
which is a great
Many
age.
happy returns of the day, Mrs. Parry.
It's very kind of you.
God bless you for having to raise such an appalling young man to the depth to where he's got to now.
That's very nice, isn't it? And the family are all having an exciting day. They're all heading down to the south coast to Bournemouth as I speak, and we're putting.
Why are you not down there?
Hang on. We're putting on a great lunch
why are you
for
not down there?
Wait a minute. And the flowers have arrived. I sent me some flowers. A bottle of sherry's arrived for her to.
You sent her some flowers?
Yeah.
She's 84?
Yes.
You couldn't be bothered going down there?
Listen, I can't. I've got to work,
Why don't you go after the show?
What?
Why don't you go after the show?
After the show today?
Yeah.
Because
you can get a train from Waterloo to Bournemouth in about 2 hours.
What's it going to do with you?
Well, because
my family arrangements, when we celebrate things in the family, are my concern and that of my mother and my sisters.
When you say we are celebrating her birthday, you're not actually celebrating her birthday. You're just doing what you normally do on a Friday, which is to come into work and then go and get larruped all afternoon in a bar.
How dare you?
I imagine that's what you're doing, isn't it?
That is outrageous.
Well, what are you doing after the show?
I'll be preparing for tomorrow's show, of course.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why?
Your show tomorrow. Why? Because if I don't, nobody will.
Really?
I.e. you.
Yeah, okay. I was managing perfectly well, thanks, before you came back from the brink.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, many happy returns to your mother. I'm terribly sorry that your son has seen fit not to bother joining you for your 84th birthday. Let's hope he considers joining you for your 85th birthday, and maybe your 86th birthday. And if he'd come to me and said, I don't think we can do a show tomorrow, it's my mother's birthday, I would have said fine.
Oh, yeah,
because these things are important. I fly all the way to America to see my mother when it's her birthday. You can't even be bothered going to Bournemouth.
Well, this is an outrageous slur on my character. My mum understands. I have to.
She probably is quite happy not to see you.
I am the sort of what could you say? I am the bellwether for the work ethic in the family.
Well, she doesn't like you very much anyway,
she's very happy about that.
She doesn't like you very much anyway. So she's probably quite pleased not to see you.
How dare you say that? My mother loves me. I love her, and it's as simple as that.
Right.
Anyway,
well, you don't love her very much, though, do you?
Oh, come off! And I'm not taking that slur from you. We'll sort this out outside the studio.
Maybe we'll get your mother to ring in.
No, Mum won't be ringing in. Don't worry about that. Absolutely certain.
I'm not worried about it.
Now, let me tell you, what we really need to talk about is managers in the Premier League.
Managers in the Premier League,
because this is a very, very important subject. I'm going to put 2 points to you.
Yes.
First of all, if the manager of Aberdeen, even after being offered a 300% rise in his salary to leave Aberdeen and go to Sunderland, suddenly decides it's not much of an offer and he turns it down.
Yes.
What would you say about the club that had tried to poach him?
I would say it says two things. It says, one, that Derek McInnes is very happy at Aberdeen, who came second in the Scottish Premiership last season, and are probably destined to play a little bit of football in Europe, even if it doesn't last terribly long in the Europa League. And he doesn't want to go to a club which is in, one, the Championship, and two, he obviously believes believes is not in any kind of shape to come back up into the Premier League.
Yeah.
I think if he thought he was going to come back bouncing straight back up, he would have taken the job.
Yeah,
but he must have had a look around and thought, do you know what? I don't like the look at this place.
Well, I think also there's so much uncertainty. They say that, the economy is always fragile when there's uncertainty.
Yes.
Uncertainty in Brexit, uncertainty in an election result. Well, Sunderland have got that uncertainty, and clearly it vaporises through their club.
But why should they? Because
the owner has made it clear he wants to sell, so he's obviously looking for a buyer.
Yeah, but he's got plenty of money. It's not like he hasn't promised to supply money. They've got a reasonably good squad. They've obviously lost Jermaine Defoe. They've lost Pickford, who's gone to Everton, the goalkeeper. But aside from that, they've got some relatively sort of recognisable names.
Yeah, they have actually. In fact, there's 6 ex-Evertonians in the Sunderland squad.
They've got Stephen Pienaar, he's a good player. They've got Adnan Januzaj, who was formerly one of the great sort of new hopes of the world of international football. They've got Darren Gibson, who was at Man United. Jack Rodwell, former Evertonian. They've got Jolyon Lescott, John O'Shea, ex-Man United.
Well, Brian Oviedo.
Brian Oviedo
was Everton's, cover
these
right
are all
back.
kind of Premier League household names, aren't they?
Yeah, Kone and people
maybe Victor Anichebe. Victor Anichebe. Are they all going to leave, these guys? They are still presumably taking a large amount of money out of the club.
I don't know, but we'd like to hear, wouldn't we, from the Sunderland fans?
We certainly would.
Because if your club is in such dire straits that the manager of Aberdeen won't come and take up the job there, that means now that any manager who takes it has to say to himself, well, hang on, can I really allow my reputation to precede me to Sunderland? Because if the manager of Aberdeen, with no disrespect to Aberdeen...
Well, I think you're being slightly disingenuous
I'm not. They are, they are the second club in Scotland, but a long way behind Celtic in terms of, resources and all that kind of stuff. If he can't accept a challenge at Sunderland, which is a very, very big club with a huge ground and the potential to be, a sterling force in English football, if he can't see his way to making a job of it down there, who can?
Well, it does seem to be very, very difficult to fill the position. Yep. Here's one from Paul, who's tweeted in at the 2 Mics. He says, I fear for Sunderland next season. They don't have a manager. They don't have players. Therefore, the players won't sign. And the once great club is being destroyed.
Yep, absolutely.
But is it, though? Is it not just a blip in their history?
Well, you can have blips in history, but sometimes blips in history turn into disaster.
Yeah.
So, for instance, Nottingham Forest's blip in history has turned into disaster.
Yes.
Leeds United's did.
Yeah.
Portsmouth's did.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. Northampton Town went all the way up to the First Division in successive seasons and then all the way down again. So, these things can be terminal.
For a contender? Your mate Steve Sherwood, he got the bullet from Swindon the other day, didn't he?
Yeah.
Maybe he would fancy a job up there.
Well, do you know what? You could do worse than approach him, because he's still a very capable manager in my view, and with a bit more luck, he may still be at a top Premier League club, and I think he, has a great work ethic, and I think he'd do well.
Yeah, I think he would. There's plenty of jobs available out there at the moment in the old managerial stakes, aren't there? We've got the Southampton job is still up for grabs.
Yes.
After Puel was got rid of yesterday.
Yes.
There's plenty of opportunities.
I'm
out
glad
there.
you mentioned that, because of course, if we look at some speculation, in media circles this morning, and amongst the chattering classes of football, not the chattering classes of London society, chattering classes of football, Giggs wants Southampton job to launch career as a boss. I think there's a touch of arrogance there. He's managed 4 games for Manchester United.
Not particularly successfully.
Well,
either.
you can't say over 4 games. In fairness, you can't. When you're picking up somebody else's work for 4 games, you really can't make a judgment. But I will give you 2 examples
but you can also add into that the fact that he was with Louis van Gaal for a significant period of time.
Louis van
Gaal didn't seem to do that much as Louis van Gaal's assistant. Do you remember that weird period when he used to try and look all sort of animated on the touchline as Louis van Gaal sat there with his notebook?
That's right.
And Griggs tried to look as if he was the man forcing everybody to work harder.
Louis van Gaal.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I was going to say is I'm going to give you 2 Manchester United players who've taken the Giggs route into management or not. Okay,
yes, go on.
One of them, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who is his former colleague, with whom he won the Champions League.
Yes.
He decided he was big enough to get into the Premiership, into football. Went to Swansea.
Cardiff, didn't he?
Cardiff, Swansea.
Cardiff.
That's Cardiff.
Cardiff and Swansea, quite a long way away from each
Cardiff.
other.
And I'm afraid he proved to be a flop. On the the other hand, Jaap Stam,
yes,
the Dutchman,
He's Dutchman with a Mancunian accent.
The Dutchman with the Mancunian accent. He decides he goes Reading, makes a good job at Reading.
He doesn't talk anything like that.
No, I know. And he makes a very good job at Reading.
He has done a good job.
So he started in the Championship, and until then learn his trade. Now, of the two, who do you think took the right route into management?
Well,
I would say Jaap Stam.
Absolutely, no question about it. I mean, Ryan Giggs doesn't really need to work, does he? I mean, he's got so much money. He's got all sorts of property developments going on.
He half owns the hotel across the road, I think.
The hotel across the road from the old Trafford. It's not the Lowry, is it? It's the other one.
No, it's the football hotel.
Yeah, so I mean, he obviously doesn't feel as if he has to, earn his spurs, as it were.
That's right.
He wants to just go straight in at the top. But I mean, I don't think Ryan Giggs would be a good manager anyway. But if you are a Ryan Giggs fan, we'd like to hear from you.
Yes, we will.
08717 223344. Here's one from Simply, who says maybe the reason Sunderland got relegated is because of all the ex-Everton players plus a rubbish ex-Everton manager, which is a bit harsh, isn't it?
It is a bit harsh.
And then here's one from Brian, who says, I think McInnes is hanging about for when the Rangers job comes up again, to be honest.
Well,
which may be the case.
Yeah, maybe this season as well. Now, I'll give that number out properly, okay?
Yeah, go on.
The number to call, please, if you want to speak to us on the show. And we want to hear from you. We want fierce football debate.
Yeah.
The number is 08717 22 33 44.
Absolutely right. This is talkSPORT. We're the two mics. Does indeed. Quite a lot of people want to get on the phone, and you can, of course, join the conversation. 08717 223344. Just before we talk to Craig Hope, the Daily Mail's North East correspondent, let me read you a couple of tweets here about your phone number style.
Yes.
Okay? Johnny says this: Porky, it's all well and good reading that number out slowly, but by the time you have done it, the show is over.
What?
And Ali says Porky's phone number staccato is counterproductive because people have fallen asleep before the end and miss it.
Honestly, some dreadful, dreadful observations there. Wouldn't you say that my diction being perfect would encourage people to say that must be a quality phone line to ring?
No, people don't think like you. And Becky says, I can definitely see Porky getting the talking clock gig, giving out the phone number so slowly and clearly.
Well, it's regular work.
Classic delivery, Well, I mean, I'm sure you'd soon mess that up. Let's talk to Craig Hope, who's the Daily Mail's North East correspondent. Why is the Sunderland job so unattractive to managers? Craig, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
Good morning.
Yeah, hi, Craig.
Is it unfair to say it's an unattractive job? I mean, why on earth wouldn't Derek McInnes take it?
It's not unfair. Of course it's not unfair. Listen, this is a guy who is manager of Aberdeen. With all due respect, the best he's ever going to achieve with Aberdeen is a second-place finish. Now, he's already done that in successive seasons, so you would have thought he's probably reached the ceiling. It's in Scotland. He's been presented with a chance to take over at a football club which gets 40,000-plus supporters every week. The history is there. I mean, listen, there's no getting away from the fact Sunderland is a big club. It's got the stadium. The training ground is absolutely fantastic. I mean, the training ground blew the socks off Sam Allardyce, and he saw it for the first time 18 months ago. So everything is there in terms of infrastructure, but there's just something fundamentally wrong with how that football club is run that has been for a long time now. There's just been mismanagement at every level of the club, be it sporting directors, be it scouts, be it chief executive, be it marketing, be it whatever, be it playing staff, the actual manager. For so long now, they've got it so badly wrong to the point whereby anybody looking under the bonnet, so to speak, is immediately put off and just runs a mile, which is probably what Derek McInnes has done.
Yeah, I mean, Craig, it's got the stench of death about it, the club, at the moment. They've got to do something really radical to get rid of that. I mean, I'm just looking at your squad. On paper, the squad's not bad. They've got some good players there. The few ex-Evertonians, Brian Oviedo, and the young kid who was going to be the star.
There are some people, Craig, saying that's one of the reasons they went down. It's too many ex-Everton players.
Yeah, it was like an Everton team sheet from 2005, I must admit. But, listen, you went back there, the stench of death about the club, and something radical needs to be done. Well, 12 months ago, Martin Dane, the former Rangers chief executive, arrived with David Moyes, and I went out with them a couple of times, and they were really honest. They said, this club has got serious problems. We've inherited a lot of issues. Give us time, guys, and we'll sort it out. Yeah. Now, David Moyes was a disaster. He was bogged down by those problems, and he could never get it out of his head that it wasn't his fault. And he became so distracted by the issues which existed behind the scenes at the club, and it was one season-long exercise in self-preservation, but in the end, the players very quickly saw through that. Now, as for Martin Dane, I've got no doubt that he genuinely wants to get this right. He wants to. So he's already started addressing certain issues with regards to personnel behind the scenes, and he does want to turn the club around. But it's starting to look, guys, like the impossible job it really is. David Moyes went wrong. David was his big ally. He wanted him to stay on. They had a great working relationship. Now he's targeted Derek McInnes, somebody he probably thought he could forge a similar relationship with. And after a 3-week pursuit, that's ended in failure, and they really are back to square one now, and I just don't know where to go from here. I really don't.
Yeah, well,
and it's a question of who they can look at now.
Exactly.
I mean, I mentioned Tim Sherwood there because he's just been released by Swindon. I mean, he might be a guy they could look at, but I mean, is there anyone on a shortlist, Craig?
Well, my initial instinct last night was that they might go back in the direction of Nigel Pearson, because you look at the situation now, the players return for pre-season training in 2.5 weeks, 2 weeks on Monday. Yeah. So if you're going to try and get somebody out of a job, i.e. a Simon Grayson type, it's probably going to take 2.5 weeks to do that. So
of course it is.
I think almost by necessity now, they're going to have to target somebody who's out of work, and Nigel Pearson was interested in the position before they went down the Derek McInnes road. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them go back into Nigel.
Do you think, I know this sounds mad, Craig, but do you think that Sunderland the town is a difficult one to make attractive to a manager coming, even though it's very close to... And I'm not being rude to Sunderland. Honestly, I love...
Sounds like it.
No, I'm not. I love northern industrial towns, a former great shipbuilding town. But Durham, of course, is a very, very lovely town, isn't it, nearby? Does the area itself have a bit of a problem in terms of its image?
Well, it shouldn't do. It really shouldn't do.
No.
It's a beautiful part of the world, the northeast.
Of course it is.
And then how many footballers now actually live in the town they play for? They generally do live somewhere, 10, 15, 20 minutes away. And as you suggested there, you're a very short drive from Durham, which is absolutely stunning. You're not far from Newcastle. You've got the airport. You've got the train stations. This myth that Sunderland and Middlesbrough as well, to a lesser extent, are sort of deprived areas, and you struggle to attract players there. For me, is nonsense.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Well, what did you mean by when you said it wasn't an attractive place for people to go?
Sunderland doesn't have an attractive image. If you're thinking of towns, you're thinking of Nice, you're thinking of Turin, you're thinking of Rome, you're thinking of London, and then Sunderland, it sometimes has a bit of an image problem, because people think that the only thing that ever happened in Sunderland was that the Jarrow March went through there, and that's of course not the case.
At the end of the day, Craig, it's a bit of a stereotype. That at the end of the day, if you're getting paid, multi-millions of pounds to manage a football club with an opportunity to take them back up to the Premier League, I don't think people care where it is, do they?
Well, I don't know. Mike makes a good point. Listen, because image and reality are two different things.
That's right.
You can't get away from the fact that there perhaps is this image. The fact that Mike actually mentions it himself proves that other people will probably be thinking it also, and there is this draw now towards London and Manchester to a lesser extent. So,
that's right.
Yeah, it is an issue to overcome, but I think once you get players up here and you sell the stadium, the supporters, the training ground, and show them the light, Durham and all the rest of it, then it shouldn't be an issue.
I don't want to load things in an Everton way, but I always thought Sunderland's best years recently, Craig, were when Peter Reid was in charge. 2 7th finishes, I think it was, wasn't it? 2 successive 7ths in the Premier League.
Yeah, around the turn of the millennium there. I mean, that was absolutely fantastic. And they're constantly sort of harking back to those days. If you talk about club legends and the guys who do the talking circuit and are phoned up by yourself for radio programmes, and who have you got? You've got Mickey Gray, Kevin Phillips, Niall Quinn, Kevin Ball. Now, what that tells you is in the past 15 years, since that team sort of fell away, there's no new legends and no club favourites have emerged, really. So they are trying to rediscover the glory days of the millennium. And, one name we could throw in there, we just mentioned Kevin Phillips would absolutely love to come back and manage the club. And he would be available. I think the deal could be done probably quite quickly and relatively cheaply. So that's another option.
Yeah. I tell you what, Craig, I was having a drink with my mate Nick Summerby the other night. Now, it never really hit me between the eyes, but he swears he is a legend in Sunderland.
No, he is. Yeah.
He is?
Someone had to supply the crosses for Quinn and Phillips, and he was the man who did. To be honest, if you got his number, Nicky could probably get a game at the start of next season, the way things are looking.
Well, he might.
Well, he might get the managerial job as well. Craig, listen, thank you very much indeed. We'd love to hear from some more of you Sunderland fans, of course. 08717 223344. You didn't tell me you saw Nicky Summerby the other night.
Yeah, I did.
I'll have to quiz you on that a little bit more. Yeah. Ronnie says this: Porky's mate, Mr. Moyes, has left Sunderland in a terrible state. A squad bloated with ex-Everton flops, and nobody wants the job. Paul says, I work in a poorly paid job with unsociable hours in Perth Airport, and I'd not take the Sunderland job either.
Blimey.
This is talkSPORT. This is talkSPORT. We are the two Mikes. There's quite a few people sharing their birthday with Mrs. Parry. Would you
really?
Got one here from Amor who says, can I have a birthday shout out to your longest and loyalist listener who is called Zag, who shares the same birthday as Mrs. Parry.
Yes.
And here's one from Woo who says, please could you wish my boss John Vernon a very happy birthday. He's a huge fan and has introduced me to the wonderful world of the two Mikes. He's 47. There's that number again.
Ooh, spooky.
Spooky,
yeah,
47,
number 47.
The most frequently occurring random number.
Absolutely. Now then, we want you to call us, please, and talk to us about Sunderland. If you're a Sunderland fan, how are you going to get out of this mess?
Yeah.
It's 08717 22 33 44.
Yeah, I'd ask you to give that number out again, but it takes so much time doing it that we wouldn't have any time to talk to the callers. Maybe one of the callers would want the actual job. Let's talk to Stephen, who's a Sunderland fan down in Cornwall. Stephen, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, lads. Is everybody okay?
Yeah, very good, Stephen. How's the weather?
You're a long way from Sunderland down there.
Well, no, I'm back up and I'm a lorry driver, and every time I ring, they ask us where I am, and I'm obviously in different areas every time they speak to us.
I see, very good.
Okay, now, why is it that Sunderland can't find themselves a manager?
Can I just quickly correct Perry on a couple of things he said about Sunderland before I go on to that?
Please do, yes.
Perry, Sunderland's actually a city, it's not a town.
Yep.
You said all Sunderland's famous for is a Darren March. So, the shipbuilding what got built in Sunderland, all the coal mines, obviously Sunderland Glass. Sunderland Glass is one of the biggest exporters of glass.
Brilliant.
Back in the early 90s.
Love to hear it.
I couldn't understand how Sunderland's just famous for its Gerald March. If you go to Wikipedia and type in Sunderland, you'll see a lot of heritage about Sunderland. But I'm a proud Mac myself, and I will always defend my city.
Well, isn't that where the term Mackem comes from? Because they used to make the things for the shipbuilding, right?
That's right.
You tack the ships.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, listen.
Well, some of us learn and do things before the show. Parry doesn't, of course, Stephen. That's why he gets it wrong all the time.
Sunderland is a fine city. I've been there. I used to go to the old Roker Park, and I love Sunderland. I'm just saying that, actually, Steve, and you will agree, because you drive around the country and you see the way the towns present themselves and the images they have. And towns and cities, and as an image, Sunderland does have a bit of a problem, and that extends to
in recent years. Definitely, I'm not going to argue with that. I mean, for job vacancies, it's dying now because obviously all the industry, you've just got really Nissan, and obviously Doctors Park is probably the biggest. If you want to work in a call centre, that's the next industry basically in Sunderland left. Apart from this, and obviously the beer factory got shut down and everything. So I can understand where you're coming from now, but as inherited, it's one of the main hubs of England back in the day. One of the biggest parts back in the day. But obviously, what's happened with the Thatcher's regime, I'm not going to get into that. But obviously, she's pretty wrecked Sunderland, So.
Now let's get down to the football club though, Stephen, because David Moyes didn't do a great job. It now looks as though Derek McInnes has turned the job down. I mean, who are they going to get?
Honestly, I have no idea. I would love Kevin Ball, who's a Sunderland legend. I've always come on every time a manager's been sacked or a manager's left. He was actually originally from Bournemouth, and he's moved up to Sunderland in the 1990s, and he thinks and breathes Sunderland. And he will know what to do to get this football club right.
Okay.
He will take the job with an instant, because I think he's still something to do with the football club. He's like part of the backroom staff now. But I think he's the only manager who would actually do decent in the job we are.
Yeah. He worked with Harry for many years, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that must have rubbed off on him, I'll tell you.
It must have done.
Yeah.
Listen, Stephen, thanks very much indeed for your call. Let's talk to Colin, who's in the Midlands. Colin, very good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning to you.
What do you reckon, Colin?
I'm a bit disillusioned by it all. I was so pleased we finally went down this year at long last. I originally come from London, by the way. I've supported Sunderland for 48 years.
Yeah.
I haven't watched them now for 4 years. Used to travel up and down all the time. I've just had enough of it.
Yeah.
If we'd had one more year in the Premiership, it'd have been another Leeds United, another Portsmouth. It'd just been underrated players getting overpaid wages, panic buys. It had to stop.
Yeah.
The worrying thing for me is we were going for this Derek McInnes. He didn't do a great job at Bristol City. And up until 7 o'clock last night, I was a bit hopeful they'd announced the manager. And I'd seen on the website that possible 9 signings from Scotland we could have signed, whether that would have happened, because we've got no money. Now, the best thing for us is to start from scratch, 5 or 6 year rebuilding period. Who's going to manage them? I haven't got a clue. But there is an attraction in Sunderland. The beaches, quite right what the previous caller said. It's not a town, it's a city now.
Yeah.
And the support up there is absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, I have no doubt at all, Colin, but you've got to get somebody in there who, is going to take on the challenge and not be frightened by this seemingly dark and doomy cloud that's hanging over your city.
Whoever we get in, we've got to stop trying to build ourselves up when we're in the Premiership as a possible top 6, top 7, paying big money for big managers. It has to stop. Get Kevin Phillips in.
Yeah.
Get him in there. He's a lad that is appreciated and idolised by everyone.
Yes.
Tell him how long we want the rebuilding period over. We've got an academy that's second to none in the country.
Yeah.
We've got a player coming through, Joel Azuro, who's absolutely mustard for the Sweden under-21s. We're on about sending to Arsenal.
Yeah, they are.
But Colin, what about you say it was some kind of blessing in disguise to go down into the Championship, but I mean, doesn't that depend on how many of these players they can offload and how much they can save in terms of the wages?
Well, you said earlier that Januzaj was playing for us. He's gone. He was a waste of time.
Yeah.
Coney last year, he got approached by another club, £20 million, £15 million. I wouldn't pay $2 million for him now. The only asset we had was Pickford, and fair play to him, get on with his career. Hopefully one day he'll be back. Let's use that $30 million. We're going to lose more money this year than ever because the crowds are going to drop.
Yeah.
We get parachute payments. Use that $30 million, or if not, dip into the youth team.
Yeah.
Get in the academy. We've got players in there ready to come through.
Yeah, you could be right. I mean, Colin, are you saying that actually it's misery to have a relegation battle year after year after year? And by comparison, Newcastle had a wonderful season last season, even though they were in the league below you.
Listen, they've had a good season last year. Fair play to them. But unlike Sunderland, it's happened now. Whatever happens to Newcastle, the goods, twice as bad seems to happen to them. They seem to mess up along the line. They had a chairman when he was under pressure, wouldn't even come near the ground. We had a chairman in Ellis Short that was under pressure. I'm not putting all the blame on Ellis Short, but when we fought off relegation, he come round the bars, he brought supporters drinks, he never hid. We've had big money off Ellis Short, but we've had people around him that have wasted it.
Yeah.
Shocking state of affairs.
Absolutely,
Colin,
thank you very much indeed.
Indeed. We'll take more of your calls on this as well, because nobody seems to really have a clue as to what's happening.
Absolutely.
And nobody really seems to know whether going down is actually a good thing. I mean, Colin there was saying, it'll be a blessing in disguise because we'll be able to get rid of all this dead wood. But, where are all these players going to go?
Yeah, exactly.
Where are they going to be sold off to?
Yes.
And in the end, precisely what is going to be the future for Sunderland? Because you don't really see them coming back up, do you?
No, you certainly don't.
08717 22 3344. Now, I have to tell you, Mr. Parry, there's something extraordinary going on one of our monitors here, right?
I know.
The All Blacks, who are taking on England the British and Irish Lions in the first test.
So this is
coming up next Saturday.
This is the All Blacks warm-up game.
This is the All Blacks warm-up game against Samoa, who are no mugs, by the way, who have always done quite well in the Rugby World Cup. I was going to tell you it was 66-0.
It's 73,
during the course of the last two phone calls, they've scored about 3 more tries, and I think it is now 83-0 against Samoa.
No, can't be.
It went up from 66, then it was 71-0, then it was 73-0, then it was 78-0. It's now 83-0.
My God.
It looks very frightening.
What awaits us?
If I was Warren Gatland, I'd be getting the next plane home.
Well,
don't bother.
I wouldn't be getting the next plane home, mate.
Bother.
I'd be shaking in my shoes.
Yeah, well, that's what he's going to be doing. This is talkSPORT.
Now, I want to tell you something which is amazing, okay?
Okay.
Do you know the name of the town which has more names in England than any other town?
Hey?
So what I mean is...
What do you mean by that?
What is the most popular name of a town in England?
Now, that's an interesting question. I wonder if it would be something like... Yeah, I don't know, actually.
I mean, there's a couple of Cambridges.
There's a couple of Newcastles, aren't there?
There's a couple of Newcastles, there's a couple of Cambridges.
I'm trying to think of something that would be something with an itch at the end.
Yeah,
maybe,
okay.
Like
anyway, listen.
Or something like
that.
Well,
let me tell you, it is in fact Whitchurch. Okay,
Whitchurch. Okay.
There are 13 Whitchurches in Great Britain.
Really?
How about that?
13.
13.
And I don't think I've ever been to a Whitchurch.
I have, because sometimes if I'm going up to Goodison in the car, I come off at junction 5 of the M6.
Do you?
I go left towards Telford, then I turn right up the A41 and I go through Whitchurch.
You've spoken about this method of route before.
That's right, yeah. Now, Whitchurch also is close enough to Chester to have a Whitchurch Chronicle.
Is it?
And a mate of mine, I think, is the editor of it, actually, Andy.
Whitchurch Chronicle?
Whitchurch Chronicle, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, weekly newspaper. And he's been there about 40 years or something.
And which Whitchurch is that?
That's Whitchurch in Shropshire.
Okay.
And they couldn't find anything else for him to do, so they just pensioned him off and made him the editor of the Whitchurch Chronicle.
Well, another one of your former drinking buddies.
An old stumble bum, who's seen out his last years in journalism, probably.
It's so dismissive of people.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's shocking.
So, So anyway, what happens is these 13 towns all get together and they are going to have a Whitchurch festival.
Oh, yeah. Which Whitchurch do you have the Whitchurch festival?
Well, I'm just right. In the market town of Whitchurch, Shropshire, plates are heaped with sandwiches, sausage rolls, mountain local, and they're all getting ready for this weekend's Whitchurch get-together.
Oh, it's this weekend.
It's the second worldwide Whitchurch weekend, a 3-day event celebrating villages and towns called Whitchurch.
That's ridiculous. What a stupid idea.
Actually, sorry, it's not this weekend. It was last weekend.
Oh, it was last weekend.
Had the party.
So don't send anyone to Whitchurch this weekend.
No, don't go to Whitchurch this weekend.
Why don't they have a different one in a different Whitchurch?
Well, this is only the second one they've ever had.
Yeah.
So they had it here. I don't know.
Is it on a revolving Whitchurch kind of rota?
Yes, it will be, yeah.
Was last year's at a different Whitchurch?
I think the previous one was at Whitchurch, Hampshire.
Ah.
Now, funny enough, I've been to Whitchurch, Hampshire.
Have you?
And I'll tell you why. Because
How exciting for you.
Yeah, when I was a young reporter working for the Birmingham Mail in London, some appeal case came up involving the Birmingham Bombers, which is a case that has bewitched Birmingham for the last 50 years,
yes.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And some appeal came up. And Lord Denning...
The Birmingham 6, would this be?
The Birmingham 6, yeah. And some appeal came up on the Friday and it got done. So we didn't get very much in the paper on the Friday. It came up late.
Right.
So somebody suggested I should go and see Lord Denning, who presided over this appeal case. And we tracked him. He was in Who's Who, and his address was in Who's Who, in Whitchurch, Hampshire. Right. So I drove down in my Vauxhall Viva, and I thought, well, there'll probably be a policeman on the gate. And he was the Lord of the Rolls.
Master of the Rolls.
Master of the Rolls, thank you. Lord Denning, Master of the Rolls, and the highest judge's job in this country.
Indeed.
And so I got down to his house, and I thought, this can't be it. There's not a policeman on the gate. The doors are open and all this kind. So I walked up the driveway and knocked on his door like this, bang, 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 bang.
Well, as you would,
Yeah, this very old man answered the door and said, hello. Can I help him? And I said, I explained who I was. He said, no.
You immediately knew he was a judge.
Yeah. He said, young man, how good will you come and see me? Of course I'll explain my judgment to you.
He's a very distinguished gentleman.
Yeah. Would you like to
I think you should be making fun of him.
No, I'm not making fun of him.
One of the great legal minds of our history.
Yeah, he must be dead, because this is over 30 years ago, and he was 92 then.
Yeah,
he couldn't have been 92, because he was about 72. But come in. So anyway, his wife made me a cup of tea, and he explained his judgment to me. Mrs. Denning, or Lady Denning, because he's Lord. Yeah. So I then came out and I thought, are you sure this is not an imposter or something? So I go to the phone box, right, and I phoned the copy over in the traditional way that we did,
Indeed, yes.
And of course, it was the lead story in the paper, splashed all over, Lord Denning, I was right, and all this kind of stuff, And it was brilliant, but that's the only...
Did he actually say that, or did you just make that bit up?
What?
Lord Denning, I was right.
No, of course he said it, because he's the top judge in England. I wasn't going to libel the bloke, was I? It would have been mad.
But I mean, you might have put words into his mouth.
Well, I had a way with the words that,
Because, very good people actually in those days. Now they do to a larger extent, but in those days people did not speak in tabloidese.
Yeah. Well, not only that.
So you had to make it sound as if they had said something which was in tabloidese.
Yeah, but not only that, because the paper was in Birmingham, and the Birmingham Evening Mail didn't circulate in Whitchurch, it didn't really matter, actually, because he'd probably never see it. So that was the attitude we took. Yeah. However, so that's 2 Whitchurches that I've been to, but there are another 13. So anybody out there
is... 15 altogether, is there?
No, 11. There's another 11. Yeah. I've been to 2. There's another 11 which I've never been to.
What's the nearest one to London, would you say?
The nearest one to London would be in Hampshire, I suppose.
Okay, all right.
There's one... I'll tell you where they are. Shropshire, Pembrokeshire.
There's 2 in Pembrokeshire.
2 in Pembrokeshire. Cardiff, a district of Cardiff called Whitchurch.
Okay.
Herefordshire.
Right.
Warwickshire. Now, you see, that's getting right up to the Midlands, Warwickshire.
It is.
Buckinghamshire, that's closest to London. That's going to be closest to London.
Yeah, like Gerrard's Cross.
That's right. North Somerset, Hampshire, Oxfordshire.
Yeah.
Another one in Oxfordshire. There's 2 in Oxfordshire called Whitchurch-on-Thames and Whitchurch-on-the-Hill.
Okay.
And then there's a further Whitchurch in Devon, another one in Dorset. The one in Pembrokeshire, by the way, is known as...
There's 2 there, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. There's one called Whitchurch, and the second one is called Whitchurch by Cardigan.
Whitchurch by Cardigan?
Whitchurch by Cardigan.
How unusual.
Like Cardigan Bay.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
How unusual.
Isn't it amazing?
Thinking about the types of places that have got many places named after them.
I
thought Harrow. Harrow's the one which might have a few...
I've just found another one.
Well, another Whitchurch.
No, another name which is much more popular than Whitchurch.
Well, you mean Whitchurch, actually, after all that, is not the place that's got the most...
No, it's not. No, it's not. Guess what?
What a waste of time.
Yeah, guess what?
The show's only 3 hours long.
Yeah, Richmond upon Thames. But I mean, the thing is, they're all getting together, the 13 Whitchurches, to have a party.
Right.
But listen to
so
this.
now that you've actually read the story properly, you're finding out that there are more facts.
No, people are supplying me with more facts.
Is that right?
To add to my earlier research.
So which is the new top of the tops for, towns?
Well, you and I should have guessed.
What?
It's Richmond.
Richmond?
Yeah. Now, we've got a Richmond upon Thames, haven't we?
Yes.
Just down the road.
There's Richmond in Yorkshire.
Richmond in Yorkshire, where there was a famous by-election. Remember the Richmond by-election?
Also, Richard III is from there, isn't he?
Oh, I think he is, yeah. Anyway, you won't believe it. There are 55 other towns named after Richmond. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Well, where are they then?
Oh, hang on. I have got it right. There's only 5 in this country. The rest are all abroad.
Sake.
The rest are all abroad, and 22 of them are in America.
Why are you wasting everybody's time?
No, I'm not.
Well, there's Richmond, Virginia, right?
What?
We know that. There's
Richmond, Virginia?
Well, hang on, but if you count all the places abroad,
yes.
I mean, there's about 1 million places in America that have all got the same name.
Well, there are, indeed, yeah.
So you've probably, this whole list of yours is complete and utter sham.
No, it's not. It's
rubbish.
It's not.
It's all rubbish.
It's the most popular name of a town in Britain is Whitchurch at 13. The most popular name of a town in the world, we think, is Richmond.
Really?
Yeah.
How many Richmonds are there in China?
Well, I can't tell you that because they don't speak English in China. So I don't know what the Chinese interpretation of Richmond is. But isn't that amazing?
No. Well, it would have been amazing if it was actually in any way accurate. But you've gone so far around the houses that you've lost everybody and everyone's now bored to death.
No, they're not. No,
I'll give you something which is much more interesting, actually, and that is, of course, a word of the day. Humble brag. Any idea what that means?
Humble brag.
Now, it looks to me like 2 words that have been sort of stapled together.
Yeah.
Humble and brag.
Humble brag would mean, I would say, would be... Is it something that you brag about, but you don't really want to be seen to be bragging or something like that?
That's not bad. It's to say something that is really a boast in a seemingly modest way.
Oh, I see.
Which is not something you do, really, is it?
Yeah, I do.
No, you don't. You boast in quite a boastful way.
Well, no, not really. When I say only 1/3 of my heart works, I mean, that is a statement of fact. But
no,
I mean,
it's not, actually. 49% of your heart works. That would be a proper statement of fact.
What I want people to think is, God, this brave man battles through life with only 1/3 of his heart
you want
working.
people to feel sorry for you, don't you?
I don't want people to feel sorry for you. No.
You like the idea of being some kind of victim. You play that card all the time. Whenever I get sort of nasty and rude with you, you turn it into, oh, look at poor me.
No.
Poor me, only 1/3 of my heart works.
No, I don't.
I like to be the victim.
Rubbish.
Trying to gain sympathy.
If you get nasty and vicious to me, it's usually because you're intoxicated.
Not true.
And I tell you to shut your trap.
Incorrect.
Before I come round and slap your face over.
Yeah, you're very brave when you're sitting in a recording studio.
Yeah.
You're never that brave when you're in the bar.
Oh, really?
Ross says this, Porky's Yap Stam impression sounding like the 1960s TV characters, the Clangers, on the Bladderation Trail.
Oh, really? No, I don't know that one. Listen, I'll tell you what else I want to talk to you about.
Well, I don't have any time.
Well, there will be time. I'll talk to you about later in the show. But it is quite amazing that, do you know, most of us males, so to speak.
I don't wish to be lumped together with you.
We have a wedge of money which we keep from our partners in life.
That's not true.
No, it is.
No, it isn't.
It is.
No.
Didn't you hear me talking? Oh, no, of course you weren't in the
No, I didn't hear you talking to Alan Brazil because you came in on your own without telling me.
Because I said to Al, how much wedge have you got in your pocket today, Al? Because he'll be going to Royal Ascot next week, so he'll have a wedge of about
but he's going to
£1,000.
Portugal this weekend with his missus.
He'll have a wedge of about 500 for the old rosé, won't he?
Well, I don't know. He's going on holiday for the weekend with his wife.
Yes.
To play in the Bobby Robson Golf Invitational Tournament.
Yeah, but I keep money at home, secret money.
Where?
Well, I can't tell you. I'm not going to tell you. But, I mean, I do for, like, emergencies and...
What, have you got it, you mean hidden away?
Yeah, hidden away, yeah.
In your place?
Yeah, I've got it in a plastic sandwich box.
In a plastic sandwich box? Whereabouts?
Well, I'm not going to tell you that, am I? Because,
you do know that you've published your address online,
well, in the past, but I've eradicated it now. And
luckily, you've got a anti crack den type iron door on the front of the place, so nobody can get in.
I've got a.
How much money do you keep in the plastic Tupperware?
Oh, enough to get by if things happen.
What, a couple of thousand?
No. I wouldn't say so. Well, I've got more than one box. I've got more than one.
How many boxes have you got?
I've got. Well, you won't believe this, but I've got one box. But the other one, which I used as a prop in one of our shows to illustrate that you can protect your car keys from...
That's a tin you used?
A tin, yeah. It's an empty tin of mushy peas.
Tin of peas?
Yeah.
Well, you keep money in that?
Yeah, I do. Rolled up because... And guess where that is?
Where?
In my tin cupboard, so that the evil thief, if he comes in, won't think it's anything except a tin of peas. That's clever, isn't it? Hey?
What an absolute moron. This is talkSPORT. Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the two Mikes on talkSPORT. Coming up in this hour, we're going to talk about Ross Barkley. Is he actually going to leave Everton in the next few days? Is he going to leave before the start of next season? Certainly looks that way. We'll be asking Mr. Parry precisely what he thinks about that. Coming up a little bit later on, of course, it's going to be Porky Quiz time. Today's subject of expertise is going to be chosen at random from a box of Trivial Pursuit. And also we'll be looking ahead to tonight's Under-21 European Championship game between England and Sweden. You're listening to the two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on talkSPORT. Can I just say, by the way, with the Queen visiting the victims of this terrible fire over in West London, once again showing up precisely what Theresa May can't seem to ever get right, having gone there yesterday and decided not to meet with any of the victims.
Yeah, contact with the people. I
mean,
just
extraordinary, isn't it?
Almost as if, there's too much, soot around and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's not even that. Just, I might get given a hard time by some of these people who are not only grieving for missing relatives and relatives who might have already died, but who are very, very angry about the fact that nobody listened to them at all when they were saying that these
renovating the blinking building
in a very, very bad way.
Just shows what a terrific woman the Queen is. Honestly,
it does.
Full of admiration.
It does.
Now let me
just read. Before we get to Ross Barkley, I've got an awful lot of tweets here about one, your ridiculous story about Whitchurch or whatever it was called. Morning, Mike. Tell the plank Parry, says Damien. There are 24 towns named Ashton, and that's just in England. Yeah. Too much Red Bull this morning.
No.
And I've got another one here from somebody who says that there are actually 50. I think there are 50 instances of another town. I can't quite.
Yeah, but that'll be around the world. That will not be in Britain.
Tell Porky the Plank there are over 50 towns in the UK with the name Newton.
Well, only part of. There's nowhere called Newton. There's a Newton Le Willows. There's a Newton something else, but there's not a Newton. You know what I mean?
Well, he says 50 towns with the name Newton.
Rubbish. Now then, one here from... Yeah, go on.
I haven't finished yet. Yeah. Gabriel says, now picturing Porky like Silas Marner sitting at a candlelit table counting out his wads of cash in fingerless gloves and cackling.
No. It's only a few bob for things like, paying a workman or something like that.
Paying a workman?
Yeah, if he comes in and does something or something. Some guy comes in your house and puts a new...
like the guy who upholstered your chair.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
He came in and walked out with your chair without you even knowing who he was.
But I got it back. But I mean, for things like that, I always give £20 to the artisan for his effort and time on top of the actual fee.
Michael says, could you just ask Parry to read out his bank account number and PIN, please? Hold on while I get a pen.
Oh, dear me. I mean, honestly, it's disgraceful. Now then, this one from Richie. It's a sort of backhanded compliment. Wow, a Porky story that actually might be true.
Really?
Lord Denning did in fact live in Whitchurch, but that voice, not really like Lord Denning, who died in 1999.
1999.
So, what do you mean? Oh, Porky's story is true. Of course it's true.
Well, the Whitchurch one wasn't. Patrick says, all round to Porky's house to go through the tin cupboard then.
Yeah, exactly.
Why not just leave the keys under the mat?
Absolutely. And it says here, probably kept in Mike Parry's locked room with a picture of a tin with US dollars spilling out of it. I do keep a few dollars, actually.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, and a few euros.
Just in case you ever need to go to America.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we should be doing in September, all being well.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Absolutely right. Now, tell me about Ross Barkley, because it would seem that Everton have now signed up yet another player, right, in addition to the third most expensive goalkeeper in the history of goalkeepers, which is extraordinary when you think about it.
Of course it is, yeah.
Mr. Pickford, right? So who's this new player they've got?
The new player? Well, never mind about the new player. Let's start about the old player, because what's happened is, on talkSPORT this morning, on the breakfast show, the situation regarding Ross Barkley has moved on significantly in all areas, because old Stubbsy came on, Alan Stubbs, who's still very close to the club, despite the fact that he's gone off and pursued his own managerial career. But, Alan talks to everybody at the club. The club is ingrained in him. And when he was asked whether he thinks it's the end for Barkley, he gave us a very, very interesting answer.
Ronald put his cards on the table with Ross before the end of the season, and he gave him an ultimatum. And I think the fact that we're 3 weeks now gone by and Ross hasn't signed, then I think it's probably the biggest indicator that Ross's future is going to lie elsewhere.
So that's pretty definitive, isn't it?
Well, it's absolutely definitive. And, I don't think Alan Stubbs, who is still very close to the club, would have possibly come on and said that if he thought it was going to upset Ronald Koeman or anybody at the club.
Right.
Now, the new player you're talking about, David Klassen, £24 million.
This is a guy from Ajax, right?
Absolutely right, Ajax captain, £24 million, and... club record £30 million transfer of Jordan Pickford on the same day.
Yes.
Shows Everton are really in the mood. But
now, Everton have said they're going to spend, around about 150 million, right?
I haven't seen that figure.
I mean, not. Okay, because the only reason I say that is because I remember thinking that means this is a third of what they said they were going to spend.
Okay, well, look, I'm not disputing it, but you may well be right.
Yeah.
The point is that I've seen the statistics when you compare them between Davy Klaassen and Ross Barkley.
Yeah.
I mean, for instance, Klaassen's 24, it's about the same age, that's good. He's a Dutch playmaker, but he's a midfield player, but he scored 16 times last season to Ross Barkley's 3.
But surely you would say, would you not, he scored in the Eredivisie, right, which presumably is not quite so difficult to score in as the Premier League.
Well, I might, but it's all comparatives, isn't it? I mean, the level of Dutch football may not be huge at the moment, but it's still a very skillful league, and he's playing for one of the top clubs, and he scores 16 goals. I mean, that's very impressive.
We get told all the time that the Dutch league is not as good as it used to be because they don't have any money.
Yes.
Which would tend to suggest that's because they can't import loads of big name players.
Yes.
So the Dutch are playing quite well. However, they're never sort of anywhere near the finals of the Champions League or even the Europa League, are they?
No, they're not. No,
so,
you're absolutely
so
right,
it would be wrong to draw too much of a conclusion about the goals, I think.
Well, except that I think it illustrates the sort of player he is. We've wanted more goals out of our midfield for a long time. Schneidlin's there now. We're hoping that will bring results. And now Klaassen. And I think Ross has been left behind by it.
It's a shame, isn't it?
It's a terrible shame because he's a local boy.
And he's also not the kind of player you can see doing particularly well anywhere. I mean, I can't see him playing at Spurs. They seem to have lost interest
I don't
in him.
understand the speculation about him going to Spurs. How would he get in the Spurs team?
I mean, he almost needs to go somewhere like Manchester United and go and play for someone like Jose Mourinho to try and maybe maximise his abilities. What do you think?
Well, I agree with that on the basis that Jose's already made it clear he's going to have a big revolving squad next season because he's desperate to do well in the Champions League. Yeah. So he's going to make sure if they've got any of these, Wednesday, Sunday, Wednesday, Saturdays and all that kind of stuff, or Sunday, Tuesdays or something like that, he's going to make sure he's got the squad to cope with it.
Could he play at Arsenal, perhaps?
Well, again, who would he displace? How would he get in the team?
I don't know.
That's the thing. I feel very sad at the way things have gone. And I feel very sad that, Ross has continually been told publicly by Mr. Koeman, look, shape up or ship out. And it looks like he's decided to ship out. And why hasn't his agent been more vociferous? Why has his agent come forward and said, look, Ross loves the club, but it's one of these things where, he's a young man, he's trying to, make sure the next step he takes in his career. Nobody's been speaking for Ross, and he's not been speaking for himself. And it gives all Evertonians, myself included, the distinct impression that he's not interested in staying. No. That's sad.
And that may not be his fault. Maybe his agent's telling him to keep quiet. I mean, maybe his agent should be changing his advice and telling him to give an interview to somebody so that he can at least explain what is going on. I want to hear from you. 08717 22 3344. And if you are an Arsenal fan or a Chelsea fan or a Manchester City or Manchester United fan, can you see Ross Barkley making his way into your team? Because surely somebody's got to have him, aren't they?
Well, a team he could get into would be Southampton. Now, Southampton fans must be getting a little twitchy because it's 2.5 weeks to the start of the new to the resumption of training, pre-season training, the very worst of a player's life, the first 3 weeks of training, and you haven't got a manager. And yet Ryan Giggs has put himself forward, seemingly, or somebody's put Ryan Giggs' name forward. Yeah. But Southampton fans wouldn't want Ryan Giggs as their manager, would they?
I wouldn't have thought so. I'd be astonished.
Why would you want Ryan Giggs to come in and take hold of a team that finished 8th in the Premier League, which needs very, very skillful management to make sure you don't drop below 8th next season? You need a wise head. So again, give us a call. 08717. Sorry.
Why are you doing that? Have you gone mad?
No, I've got mangle mouth syndrome.
Really?
Right. 08717 22 33 44.
This is talkSPORT.
Right, OK, folks, this is the Two Mics, of course. We are, of course, on talkSPORT. We are, of course, with Wix. Now, save 35% on selected lawn mowers, like the Flymo 37cm electric lawnmower. It was £79.99. It is now only £49.99. But please hurry, the offer ends on Monday.
It does indeed. We've got lots more coming up, including the Porky Quiz, which this week is not on one particular subject, but it is from our occasional trip to the Trivial Pursuit box.
That's right, absolutely.
So we will be unveiling later on the cards from the Trivial Pursuit box.
We will. They
will still be in sealed containers so that there can be no gerrymandering, by the way.
OK, now what sound do you think this is?
Hey?
What sound is this?
I don't know, it sounds like you're opening a box of chocolates.
No, I'm not. I'm opening a packet of cards.
Oh, are you?
And I'm going to challenge you during the course of the show to a game of bridge. Because
game of bridge?
Bridge has just won a legal decision that it can be rated as a sport.
Is that right?
And the reason for that was not because bridge players desperately want to become sportsmen, but it affects some tax.
No, but does it not also qualify them for funding of some kind?
Well, no, yes, it could eventually qualify them for funding, but at the moment they want to knock off the VAT on prizes that you get when you play bridge.
I see.
And as I've never played bridge in my life, I thought we better pursue it a little bit and see if it really does.
Well, I'll probably beat you at that because I beat you everything else we ever played.
It does bring to you those sporting instincts, which of course is the basis of talkSPORT.
Yes.
It's in our name.
Yes.
Yeah.
How about this from Simon? Has Porky finished reading out that number yet?
Yeah,
I'll tell you what we are going to do now, though.
Yeah.
We're going to talk to Kath Taylor, who's up in Wakefield in West Yorkshire, because she is involved with Casey's Fish and Chip Shop up there in Ossett, where apparently they've got a whale fish and chips challenge where a 32-ounce fish is put on a plate with a load of chips and you have to try and eat it inside of an hour.
It's been going for 2 years and only 7 people have ever completed the meal.
We might be sending you up there to have a go.
Indeed.
Kath, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Thank you very much
Kath.
indeed
Thanks for joining us.
For joining us. Now, I've seen a picture of this 32-ounce fish, and it does look pretty big, but it's hard to imagine unless it's right in front of you. I mean, if you were to put, say, your 2 hands out in front of you, is it bigger than that?
Yes, definitely.
Right.
And where do you get these fish from, Kath? Do you have to order them specially? Yeah, sure. Yeah, but they're big fish. Do you have to send a trawler out to catch specially big bits of cod for you?
Yeah, every morning.
You do? You send that?
No, we order them from a company that delivers them every day for us.
Okay. And in your part of the world, is it well known that you have this challenge? People come in, do they say, right, today, Kath, I want to take the challenge, give me the big one, the 32-ounce fish?
Well, they usually ring an hour beforehand just so we can get it prepared because it does take around 20 minutes to cook.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And do you have to cook it separate from everything else in the sense that you can't just lob it in with all the other fish that you're cooking?
No, because there'll be no room in the pan to cook it.
Oh, I see, because it's so big. Now, when they come in, you keep an eye on them. How many of them, in your experience, have you seen them finish and how many have failed?
We've probably had around 30 competitors altogether.
Yeah.
And over the recent few weeks, with it being in the newspapers and things, we've had about 9 complete it now. So
9, right, okay, because it's been more publicised. I mean, just to give our listeners an indication, I see that your colleague, got a picture of your colleague at your shop, John Haggerson. He's holding a plate. It's a huge plate, by the way, and I would say the fish is probably about 18 inches long. Is that about right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, about 8 inches long.
Blimey, that is big, isn't it?
It is big indeed.
Yeah.
Do they get a certificate or anything like that, Kath, if they get through it?
If you complete it within the hour, you do get the meal for free, and you also get a T-shirt that says that you've defeated the Casey's whale.
Wow, that's amazing. What, you give them the meal for free if they finish it?
Yeah, if you finish it within the hour, it's completely free.
And how much does it cost if you don't?
$11.99.
$11.99. That's not bad.
For that amount of fish.
Yeah.
And it also says you get 4 small sides of your choice. Now, I wouldn't imagine you have much room for sides, would you? But you can have baked beans, you can have mushy peas, you can have curry sauce.
Or gravy.
Or gravy. Mm-hmm. Now, I wouldn't want to put gravy. You don't put gravy on fish, do you, up there? Is that what you do?
Well, a lot of people do, yeah.
Really?
Sometimes they put gravy and peas on.
No, definitely put peas on.
Gravy? Have you ever heard of that?
Gravy on chips? Yeah, of course I have.
No, of course I'm not talking about chips. I'm talking about on fish.
No, not on fish. No, I have never. No. Now, Kath, the thing is that this is not the end of it. John is apparently quoted as saying somewhere that, look, I'm thinking now about the 72-ounce haddock challenge, ready for anybody who wants to take on an even bigger challenge. I mean, where on earth would you get a 72-ounce haddock from?
We've already got a couple in stock ready, waiting for the challenger to come, but nobody's taken up the challenge yet, so...
Really?
Yeah.
So here, there's millions of people listening to us. If somebody wants to try the 72-ounce challenge, how do they get hold of you?
If you just look up Casey's Chip Shop on the website,
right.
give us a call.
Right, okay.
And then book in and let us know that you're coming. Mm-hmm. We can get it all prepared for you.
That would be absolutely fantastic. And as you say, since this challenge became publicly
I don't think it's good for your heart, is it? To eat
well, I wouldn't think it'd be that good, but, somebody might be fit enough to do it. But as you quite rightly said, Kath, since this became a public event this week, people are now flocking to Ossett, are they, to get their teeth stuck into this giant fish?
Yeah, they are. They're coming from quite a way as well. We've had people from Birmingham.
Yeah.
I think the last one was from Staffordshire.
Staffordshire, Birmingham, fantastic.
But they're coming from everywhere now, especially because it's been in the national newspapers.
Yes, I see. Well, I tell you something. This might catch on.
It might well do. What's your biggest selling item, Kath, when people generally come in if they're not having the massive fish?
We do a dinner time special.
Right.
That's quite popular. That's $2.85. You get a small fish and chips, a sausage, peas, beans, curry or gravy.
For $2.85?
For $2.85.
That's brilliant. Well, that's fantastic.
No, but again, I've never eaten fish and sausage in the same meal.
I haven't, no.
I've taken sausage and chips home, I've taken fish and chips home, but usually separately. But that all sounds fantastic. How long has your fish and chip shop been going, Kath? Is it a traditionally old business?
John, that's the owner, John Haggerston. He's owned fish and chip shops since he was younger. But they've moved to different premises and they finally settled at Cases on Bank Street around 3.5 years ago.
Right, that's lovely. Well, it's such a traditional thing in this country, fish and chips. And you appear to be one of the leading vendors of it, and you started this competition for eating giant fish. So what I want to say, Kath, is well done for keeping the tradition of fish and chips right in the public eye and making it more exciting.
He cooks it the traditional way as well in beef dripping. So
beef dripping, yeah, that's lovely. Yeah.
Is that traditional? Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I like to hear that. That's great. The one complaint I have about fish and chips, Kath, is that when I go somewhere and they charge me a lot of money for fish and chips, a restaurant or something, and this really crusty crustacean type fish comes out, and then you've got to smash through it with an axe to find the fish in the middle. Is your batter particularly light and nice?
It is, yeah. John has a secret recipe for the batter that he doesn't tell anybody.
Right.
So he puts his secret ingredients in there. I'm not quite sure what's in there, but the batter's always light and crispy.
That's lovely.
Sounds like we'll have to go to Wakefield.
Yeah, I think we're on our way to Ossett.
Superb. Thank you, Kath. Thank you very much indeed. We'll find out soon whether somebody else is going to join the 9 people who've already managed the Whale Fish and Chips Challenge.
Absolutely.
And that's at Casey's Fish and Chip Shop up in Bank Street in Ossett. Have you ever been to Ossett?
May have done.
You may have done.
Well, I may have done because I went all over the north when I was working for the Daily Express in the north of England. We went everywhere, based in Manchester.
Okay,
but,
well, that's not really the answer I was looking for. How about this from Jay Bennett? Hey, Mike, it's a bit Richard Porky bragging about Classen when the last time I saw him was in Fellaini's back pocket in the Europa Cup final. Europa League final, I suppose that would have been, when he was playing for Ajax.
Yeah, well, actually, funny enough, somebody said that, you'd said, Dutch clubs never get to the final stages
the Champions
of the
League I was talking about, I mean, they're in the Europa League final, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, how about this from Jason? Yeah, they did.
I just thought I'd point out your minutes of stupidity.
Well, thank you very much indeed. Jason says this, you can't compare the Premier League to the Dutch League. Depay was the top scorer there and the player of the year before United bought him.
Yeah, is that right?
Well, he's not very good, is he?
Who?
Depay.
No, he's not. No.
Well, he was the player of the year in the Eredivisie. So your guy wasn't even as good as him.
Yeah, well, our guy's better than him. That's obvious.
Well, no, he's not. Because Depay was the top scorer and the player of the year.
Yeah, well, that's what...
stick that in your pipe and smoke
it. I believe in Ronald Koeman. There's an outrageous suggestion here. Well, it's not that outrageous.
We've seen the time, by the way.
It says that Ross Barkley would suit a club just across Stanley Park from him. He should go to Liverpool.
Yeah, maybe he should.
Would they want him? I don't know.
Well, I think he could work well there. But, would he go from Everton to Liverpool? That doesn't happen very often.
No.
This is talkSPORT with the two mics. You said he'd scored, isn't it?
Yeah.
Here's one from Simon who says, what would be quicker to finish, the fish and chip challenge or Porky reading out the phone number?
Hey, yes.
Now, apparently, because it is now officially declared a sport, we're about to have a game of bridge, aren't we?
We're going to have a game of bridge.
Yeah.
So,
game of bridge live on the air. I don't think it's ever been done before.
No, never been done before.
I think, as ever, we're breaking new ground.
Well, I think this is the first, it's a world first. It's commentary on a game of bridge minutes after bridge has been declared a sport, OK?
A game of two halves.
Right, now I've never played bridge before, neither of you.
What makes you think that you're going to be... Why are you knocking stuff all over the floor?
What
makes you think you're going to be able to... It's quite a complicated game, bridge. I used to, where I used to see people playing it was at my golf club.
Oh, yes.
There was a room where people used to go and play.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't play poker. They wouldn't play whist. They wouldn't play... They played cribbage sometimes, but mostly they would play bridge.
And mostly very old people.
Quite old, and
in
they were
smoky
very...
rooms.
but also not so much smoky, but they were the sort of gin and tonic brigade.
Yeah, I know.
Gin and tonics and a bit
They're
of
probably
bridge in the
half cut
afternoon.
as well.
I would imagine so.
Probably sat there all afternoon in the golf
But they
club
were quite
getting
sort
half
of
cut.
quite insular as well.
Quite insular,
you couldn't
okay.
sort of just wander in and say, "Do you mind if I join you?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
You'd have to be invited.
Wasn't exactly like a Las Vegas casino. You just sit down and play.
No, not
right.
at all.
Here we go. Okay, so here we go. Dealing.
Yes.
Somebody shuffles the deck. I've done that. Then each player takes one card and places it face up on the table. Right. Okay.
Let's do that.
Take your card.
So I'll just take one off the top.
Yeah, I'll take one off the top.
I've got
What have you
two
got?
spades there.
I've got a 7 of spades.
Okay.
Right.
Does that mean you win?
What?
I mean, you win.
It means I win. The winner, the player with the highest card is the dealer. That's me.
Oh, that's
right.
you.
I'll have your card back, please.
All right. You want it back now?
Yeah.
All
He
right.
shuffles the cards.
These are horrible cards, but where'd you get them?
I didn't. Somebody brought
They
them
are
down.
not at all kind of standard issue cards.
Well, they're the only cards we've got. Right, you shuffle the cards and hands them to the player to his right.
Well, there's only one other player, so I wouldn't worry.
And you've got to cut them and then return them to me, please.
All right, I've just cut the cards. There we are.
Yeah.
Just say on the back. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Betting company.
right.
I'm not going to
The
give you
cards
the
are dealt one at a time, starting with the player to the dealer's left, that's you, and moving in clockwise rotation until
I've also to your right, by the way.
Each player has 13 cards. Now, hang on. Do you deal these like not face down, presumably?
I would think so. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, there's one for you, one for me.
Yeah.
2 for you, 2 for me.
Yeah.
3 for you, 3 for me. 4 for you, 4 for me.
Right.
5 for you, 5 for me.
Okay.
6 for you, 6 for me. 7 for you, 7 for me.
Okay.
8 for you.
My
8 for
understanding
me.
of bridge
9
is
for
it's
you,
a
9
bit.
for me.
How many have you
10
given
for
me?
you. 13.
Okay.
11, 12. And
a lot,
13.
isn't it?
So we have
Okay.
13 cards each. So that means that only 4 people can play then.
I think that's
4
right.
13s is 52.
Normally they play as pairs, don't they? They play like as partners, I think.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's the point.
Now, I'll put the cards in the middle, okay?
And one of the things my understanding is, by the way, if anybody knows anything about bridge, by all means call us and tell us what is the best way to play.
Or send us a note.
Do you want to give me the number out?
Yes, I'll give you the number to call, OK? If you want to call in and tell us all about the bridge, then please do it.
Well, not the bridge.
About bridge, by calling 08717...
Right.
Shut up. 08717 22 33 44.
Okay.
Right, now then,
Should
we've
I
got
put
to...
these sort of together with suits and things, you think? Like
Well, it says here we're bidding for tricks now, OK?
Tricks.
In this phase, players bid for the number of tricks they think they can take. It's like being at an auction.
Okay.
Because each player has 13 cards, 13 tricks must be fought over and one in each hand.
I see.
The bidding starts with the dealer who moves to his left in a clockwise rotation. Each player gets a chance to bid. And a player can
Am I
either...
supposed to be following any of this?
a player can either bid or pass on when it's his turn. The least you can bid is for 7 tricks.
Right.
And the maximum you can bid is for all 13.
Oh, okay.
The bidding goes around and around the table with each player bidding or passing until 3 players in a row say pass after some bid is made. So we've got to bid for tricks now.
Okay.
Okay.
And the lowest line goes 7.
Yeah, but you have to do it in pairs of cards, don't you?
Hey?
Don't you have to do it in pairs? So what do you mean the lowest you can do is 7?
Well, you just read that bit out. You said the lowest number of tricks you can bid is 7. So you can't bid any low. I can't say I'm only going to get 4.
Well, what is a trick?
A trick is when you win the hand, basically.
Well,
I think.
well, how many cards do you have to produce to win a hand?
Well, in our case, only 2.
Only 2?
Because I'll put one down, and then either you can beat me or you can't.
Okay, so we put 2 cards down at a time, do we?
No, you put one card down. I put my card down like that.
Yeah.
And then you put your card down to see if you can beat me.
Oh, I see.
And if you win, then that's a trick to you.
Oh, okay,
And
right,
if I
fine.
win, it's a trick to me.
Okay, we'll put it down then. Put your card down.
Well, I'm not
you
sure.
go first, yeah.
Well, first we have to bid, though.
What do you mean we have to bid?
We have to say how many tricks you're going to win.
Oh, I'm going to win... we've got 13 hands. I'm going to win 7.
You're going to win 7?
Yes.
Because that's the minimum you can say.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll win 10 then. No, go on.
I'll tell you what, let's talk to Stuart, because he is a bridge master.
Right,
I
okay.
think. Stuart, very good morning to you.
Good morning. I'm definitely not a bridge master.
Aren't you?
However, I played bridge at boarding school as a young man, as a teenager. So
okay. Are we doing it right, by the sounds of it?
You're not. No, not at all.
Doesn't surprise me that Porky's got it completely round his ears.
Well, the two of you are doing a great job of embarrassing yourself and not doing bridge the justice it is. It's dealt now. Well, first of all, you have to have a bridge master who manages the games.
Yeah.
They're played in clubs by more than 4 people. You can have 10 tables of 4 each, and the cards are all dealt by machine.
Really?
Because they have to deal the same
hang on.
hand.
I used to watch people in my golf club, Stuart, and they didn't have any machines or masters. There was 4 of them sitting around the table.
But that's because you're only playing one hand. When you're playing a competition, a club competition, and there are 10 tables, you have to have the same hand, the same deck of cards to each player.
Right.
To deal that by hand to deal that by hand, well, yes, everybody. Well, if you deal cards randomly, you might get 4 aces in one game with one hand, and the next 4 twos. It doesn't work. To be able to play a competition, everybody has to have the same cards.
Right, well, that's great.
Sounds very complicated, this.
Right, I think we ought to get on with the game. No, I think we should, because Stu's given us some advice.
No, he's trying to explain it to us.
Well, he has explained it. We're not going to have time to play.
Well, we're doing it all wrong, apparently. So what should we be doing, Stuart?
But also...
We need a machine, is what you're saying.
No, you need a machine if you're going to play a tournament of lots of people.
We're not playing a tournament.
Right, but you do need 4 of you, and I know at least one of you's got split personality. But anyway, what I was going to say is part of the playing of bridge, of course, is bidding, and there are conventions based on the number of points your hand holds. Yeah. And you get points for face cards, points for aces, and points for singletons.
Can we not?
I think
that'd be good for Porky. Can we not do a kind of a shortened version of it just for the radio?
Yeah. Come on, we had enough of this, Stu. We're very grateful to you. We've got to get on with the game.
Don't be so dismissive of him.
I'm not. But he's very kind of Stu to ring in. No, let's get on with the game. Right, come on. We've got to win.
He's frightened you're taking up too much of his airtime.
We've got to win a trick.
Thank you very much indeed for coming in and telling us.
So come on, you put a card down.
Well, hang on. You said you were going to win 10, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm going to win 12.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so you have to follow suit, by the way. So if I put down a club, I've got a king of clubs there.
Right.
If you've got a club, you have to put it down.
What, a higher one than that?
Well, no. A lower one, hopefully, then I'll win.
Well, no, that's what I mean. If I put a high one down, I win, right?
Well, if you've got an ace, yeah. You've got an ace of clubs?
I've got an ace. I've won the first trick.
Okay.
I've won the first trick ever in the first ever commentary game of bridge on British radio. How about that?
Come on.
Right, so I put one down now, do I?
Hey?
I put one down now, do I?
Yeah, you put one down,
right, okay, here you are. This is unbeatable. Look at that.
Ace of diamonds?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you 9 of diamonds.
Hey, so I've won that as well.
So that's 2 to you, yeah.
Woo, woo, woo,
all right, calm down.
Look at this. I've won the second hand in the first ever commentary game.
Yeah, all right,
Right, is it my turn now?
Yeah, still your turn.
Okay.
I don't think we're playing bridge. I think we're playing whist now.
Here. I'm going to...
Can you hurry up, please? You've seen the time.
Jack of hearts.
Jack of hearts. Okay, I'm going to put down the 7 of hearts.
Oh, it's another one for me.
Another one for you.
Woo.
Look how happy he is.
Well, this is... hey, I'm good at this. I'll start taking this up.
Unfortunately, there's not going to be enough time to finish the game.
That's 3 for me. Yeah. Right, okay. I'm putting down the Queen of Hearts.
Yeah, you can have a 3 for that.
Yeah, that's 4.
Unfortunately, we're not going to have enough time to finish the game.
Oh, no, because I'm winning.
No,
of course
the game
not.
has been abandoned due to the clock running out of time. You've got to play it within the allotted time.
9 of clubs. Go on.
No,
go on. Can you match 9 of clubs?
No, I can't.
Come on, now get to 5.
The game's over. I've got a queen of clubs, so you're
rubbish.
Messed up there.
Rubbish.
Anyway, that's the end of the game because it's had to be abandoned.
Yeah.
We'll pick it up again later. Thank you very much for the help from Stuart. That was bridge. It is indeed a sport. We're both exhausted now.
Yeah.
This is talkSPORT. This is talkSPORT. We are the 2 mics. The Porky Quiz coming up a little bit later on. A lot of people making some very complimentary suggestions. Ray, the game of bridge.
Right.
Spurs Diver says that there's only one explanation for radio bridge, and then he uses a rather foul word, which I'm not going to read out.
Yes.
Can we make the game playing a regular feature, says Andy. I nominate Kerplunk next week, or more aptly for Porky, Kerplunk.
Kerplunk, yeah, okay. There's one here. I'm lobbying for the 2 mics to represent Team GB at Tokyo 2020. Monsieur Parry could be the captain of the team. Thank you very much indeed. And who's that from?
Gary says, nice to see MG letting Mike Parry win at bridge. He must be sorry for old Porky, who never beats him at anything else.
No, not at all. That was the last one was from James, by the way. And rather a cruel suggestion here from Porky's housekeeper, which is a Twitter account, actually.
It is, yeah.
It says, I suspect gerrymandering from the quiz cheat in that game of bridge. Porky never wins so enthusiastically.
Yeah. Pete says, points for singletons. Mike Parry gets at least 100 points then.
Eh?
For being a singleton.
Oh, don't be ridiculous,
well,
honestly.
Yeah. 2 aces, a queen and a jack. Definitely gerrymandered those cards, Porky.
No, not at all. Not at all. They came out of the pack. What can I say? That's all I can tell you.
I see.
So, that's the way the cookie crumbles and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yes, indeed.
Right, now then, I'll tell you what I want to talk to you about. You have recently given up smoking, okay?
I have. Actually, do you know what? I can tell you something which will stagger you. It may or may not stagger you, actually. But I gave up smoking on March the 9th.
Right. Right.
I haven't actually counted exactly how many days that is.
We're on now June
But
the
I worked out
16th.
last weekend.
Yes.
Do you know how much money I've saved?
No.
1,500 quid.
1,500 quid in a month and a week.
Well, it's probably...
no, it is. 9th to the 9th.
No, March the 9th.
Oh, March. Oh, March, April, May, June.
Yeah.
That's 3 months and a week.
Yeah.
And you've saved how much?
1,500 quid.
So it's only about 500 a month.
Yeah.
Well, that's worth having.
It is, isn't
that
it?
would pay for a family holiday, £6,000.
You think?
Well, perhaps not, but no, but
it's not. It would certainly gets up there.
Certainly help you have a nicer Christmas, won't it? And all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
You know, absolutely amazing. Well, anyway, look. Very commendable that you've given it up and you haven't wavered once. No, you haven't.
No, not at all.
What's the urges like these days?
Funnily enough, lately I've been getting more urges than I had at the beginning. Because I always said at the time, the problem is not so much giving up as staying off them.
I thought it was the first 6 weeks.
No, not really.
Worst.
No, I don't find that. I've always found it the opposite. Because the last time I gave up, which was quite a few years ago, I managed about 9 months. And then one day I just went for one and decided that was the end of it. But you can't. I mean, I just won't smoke again.
I had a mate, he was the deputy news editor on the Express in Manchester, a very nice chap called Brian, very cheery and colourful northern man.
Oh, yeah.
And he gave up, but he said that he kept 2 packets of senior service, those don't have any tips on them, very strong cigarettes, in a cupboard in his house or at all times, which he said helped him get through it, because if he ever did feel the desperate urge to have one, he knew it would be there, and he said that helped him not smoke.
What do you mean? He knew they were there, but he didn't actually smoke them?
He never smoked them.
Really?
But he always, he thought, if that moment comes, I've got to have a cigarette.
Yeah.
At least I've got the 2 spare packets downstairs. But he never opened them.
But he never opened them.
No.
Yeah, you see, I don't think it would be good for me to have them.
I don't.
I don't mind people smoking around me. I don't care about any of that, because you have to deal with that one way or another. But one of the advantages to giving up now is that hardly anybody smokes. So you're not really in a situation very often where people smoke.
I totally agree. And also, the temptation factor obviously weakens in alcohol. So I do think it would be a bad thing for you to have some at home.
Yes.
Now then, health chiefs, this is the point of the story is that health chiefs believe that an end to smoking altogether is now in sight.
Are they just saying that because that's their wishful thinking?
Well, it says... Another fall in the numbers lighting up. The UK had 7.6 million adult smokers last year, and that was 680,000 fewer than in 2015.
Yeah.
The last time they took figures. So that was the year before last, obviously.
The problem that I have, I suppose, with some of these figures is that they don't always count in numbers. If you're out and about, and the people that I see smoking a lot are a lot of younger people now.
Is that right? I thought younger people had mostly tried not to start.
No.
Anyway, it says here, among the remaining smokers, men smoke an average of 12 cigarettes a day, women 11. That's down from 18 and 14 when figures were first recorded in 1974.
And that's probably a function of the fact that it's much more difficult to have one. Where you used to, when I used to work at the Express, before they banned it,
you smoked at your desk.
You could smoke at your desk.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I totally agree. And also the cost, I suppose, because the taxes on them have gone up over the years, haven't they? Now, it also says UK smoking rate is now Europe's lowest, bar Sweden, with the biggest fall among people aged 18 to 24. That's what I thought. I thought a lot... it's quite unusual now to see a person walking down the street with a cigarette in their fingers, isn't it?
Well, it depends where you are, actually. We were in Borough
Yeah.
Market yesterday, right, where we went because we thought we should go back
That's
after
right.
it reopened the day before, and we had a very nice time, had a little meeting in the Wheatsheaf pub. I saw quite a lot of people smoking yesterday.
Yes.
In that sort of scenario
Yes.
where people are standing outside,
That's right.
walking around. There was a lot more, and a lot of them were sort of, I would say, people in their 20s.
OK, fine. Now, it says around 2.9 million people now use e-cigarettes. Now, you said earlier that you see a lot more... No, I think our producer, Izzy, said she sees a lot more people vaping.
Vaping, yes. Which I can't get into at all. I can't imagine wanting to do that because it creates so much sort of steam, doesn't it? You see all this
or
steam.
Smoke or something,
whatever it is, vapour.
Yeah. So the majority use them as an aid to quit smoking. Public Health England, whose chief executive is a guy called Duncan Selby, he says it's hard to believe that back in 1974 almost half of adults smoked. But now an end really is in sight, and we've a real opportunity to virtually eliminate the harm, misery and death caused by smoking. Smoking linked to lung disease and cancer is behind 100,000 preventable deaths per year. Smoking rates during pregnancy fell 0.1% in the last year. Well, any woman who smokes when she's pregnant should be charged with an offence.
Well, that's idiotic.
Yeah. And it's in the last year, while maternal smoking at time of birth, Strange, the sort of statistic. Rose in late 2016-17 to 10.8%. I don't quite understand that one.
What, people who are smoking sort of
maternally?
As the child is born,
well, just after the child is born.
Yeah, right. That's pretty stupid as well.
But I tell you what, there's one missing factor there. The government simply wouldn't be able to get their finances together without the tax from smoking.
Well, they collect about 10 billion. They collect about 10 billion. They collect more
from cigarettes
in alcohol, in tobacco tax than they actually ever spend on people who suffer from lung disease.
That's right, exactly. So where on earth they're going to get that money from, I don't know.
No.
It simply means the government will do what all governments do and just put it on other products and other things, probably petrol and drink and all that kind of stuff, you know.
Right, exactly right.
Right. Now then, you want to tell me about why going to the cinema will soon be a niche hobby, right?
What? No.
Going to the cinema?
What?
Going to the cinema will soon be a niche hobby.
Will it?
Yeah.
Says who?
Well, it says one of the reports I've read in one of my journals.
Right. Well, I don't know anything about it.
Well, I'll tell you about it.
All right.
By 2021, Britons will spend more money on computer games than they do on books.
Yeah.
According to a report by accountancy firm PwC. They're pretty authoritative.
PricewaterhouseCoopers,
That's it,
otherwise known as.
Yeah. We're expected to spend £5.2 billion a year on video games by then, putting us behind only America, China, Japan and South Korea.
That's amazing, isn't it?
As the world's biggest spenders.
When you consider how big those countries are, that's an incredible statistic.
Yeah, spending on books is actually forecast to rise as young readers ditch e-books for paperbacks.
Oh, yeah.
However, the figure will only jump from last year's 4.6 billion to 5 billion.
Uh-huh. My two kids actually quite like reading books, which is quite a nice thing, because you don't expect that, do you?
No, you don't. Now, the cinema thing, right, in the same report, it says less than 4 years from now, people in the UK will spend more cash on streaming services,
right,
such as watching the Two Mics in New York live,
yes,
at our show there,
yes,
okay, which is happening in September.
Yeah, or the Mayweather-McGregor fight.
Mayweather-McGregor fight, but I think that'll be more like sort of pay-per-view.
Be a lot more expensive. Well, they'll still be streaming it, though, won't
That's right, yeah. So it says streaming services such as Netflix than they do on cinema tickets.
Yeah.
Some £1.3 billion will be spent at the box office in 4 years' time, but it's estimated £1.4 billion will be spent on TV on-demand services, the study says.
Okay.
Streaming services have enjoyed a surge in popularity. Well, I think that's since we announced that we were going to have a streaming service from New York. You know what I mean?
I've seen the time, by the way.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Stream the news in a minute.
Don't worry about that. Thanks to producing their own shows such as The Crown, Phil Stokes.
Phil Stokes?
Oh, no, sorry, he's the spokesman for PwC. Sorry. He said, I thought it was the name of a show.
Why don't you just sit there reading this stuff out?
No, it's from my journal. 4 of the top 10 programmes watched via subscription video on demand in 2015 were original productions, showing that for consumers, fresh, high-quality content is king.
Very good. Thank you very much indeed. Thank goodness you've stopped talking. This is talkSPORT. Good afternoon, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the Two Mics on talkSPORT. Coming up in this hour, we're going over to Poland to talk to Paul Jiggins ahead of the England under-21 game against Sweden later on tonight, of course. We're also going to talk to Luke Dillon, who is a surfer on the growth of the sport in the UK. It's not just bridge, which is now a big sport in this country. Surfing is really taking off. Also, of course, the Porky Quiz coming up a little bit later on as well. It's going to be taken from a Trivial Pursuit box. All the questions will, of course, come in a sealed bag. We'll have a look at them being opened a little bit later on.
It won't be a sealed bag, it'll be a sealed packet, actually.
Sealed bag, I think it is as well. Sealed packet inside a sealed bag. 08717 22 33 44. You're listening to the Two Mics with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on talkSPORT.
Right, now some people don't take us seriously as broadcasters.
What do you mean?
Just listen to this. Simo here says, I've never laughed so much and had to pull over with tears in my eyes after your bridge game.
Oh, yeah.
It was very funny. It wasn't meant to be funny. It was meant to be instructive.
It was.
It was the first ever commentary on a bridge game in the world after bridge was declared a sport.
And I'm pretty sure the first time ever bridge has been discussed on talkSPORT as a sport.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, it's groundbreaking stuff, this, you know.
It certainly was.
Now, coming up tonight, of course, it is the England under-21, following hot on the heels of the youth team winning the World Cup the other day, with all those Everton players in it. We're going to talk to Paul Jiggins now from The Sun.
Great.
He's out in Poland ahead of the game. It's England taking on Sweden. Paul, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome.
Good afternoon, boys.
Yeah, hi, Paul. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. I mean, I suppose there's a bit of a feel-good factor around the England youngsters at the moment, isn't there?
Yeah.
There is indeed. After the under-20s World Cup victory in South Korea on Sunday,
I'm guessing, we're speaking to AD Boothroyd yesterday, and he's hoping to harness that feel-good factor and do the same in the under-21s. AD, of course, had played a part in the under-20s victory because he was manager of the under-19s last year, which is the same group of players, and getting them to the last four, the semi-finals of the Euro Under-19 Championships in Germany last year, meant they actually qualified for the World Cup.
Okay.
So, you could almost accuse him of having an assist.
Yes, quite right.
They'll be looking to carry it on.
Yeah, and I guess as far as the format of this tournament is concerned, England have to top the group, and then they're into the semi-finals. Is that right?
That is right. There are 3 groups, oddly enough. 12 teams, 3 groups. So we've got a situation where, the winners of each group go through to the last 4, and then we have a lucky loser. The best place, second place, the best place runner-up goes through as well. So, if the worst was to happen tonight and England were to lose, it may not be the end of the road. There still could be a way through for them.
Indeed, there could be. Now, Paul, have you had discussions with the world's 3rd most valuable and expensive goalkeeper since you've been on the beat out there?
We have indeed. Not since, while we've been out here, although we have sort of changed pleasantries, we spoke to him. We actually interviewed him before we came away at St George's Park.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I think you've got quite a goalkeeper there, Mike.
Yeah, I think I do as well.
I think he's excellent. The mark of the mate is very focused. He's a very focused individual. Yeah. So much so that when we was watching him train, they was doing a drill where they were shooting, obviously, to test him on his sort of unsighted shots, if you like. Yeah. So they put 2 inflatable mannequins in front of him. Yeah. And one of the mannequins inadvertently deflected the ball past him. And he was so annoyed at having conceded a goal, and only in a training session, that he actually kicked out at the mannequin and ended up puncturing the mannequin.
Shocking.
Well, that's what I like to say.
Obviously wants to get control of his temper, obviously. You can't be going around kicking mannequins around.
That's what you call dedication, nothing to do with the temper. Totally focused, dedicated, hates conceding goals, which is what you want from a goalkeeper.
Yeah, of course you do. And how close is he to...
himself about out here, been throwing himself around. Yeah. Watched him in training yesterday. Yeah. Clearly loves football, clearly loves goalkeeping. Yeah. And I think within the next year we'll probably see him competing with Jack Butland for England's #1 slot.
I was going to say that I hope that happens because he's got 9 caps now for the under-21s, right, that you're with. But I don't want him to become a player like Callum Chambers of Arsenal, who's got 17 under-21 caps. You shouldn't have more than than... Well, because you've got to progress. Am I right? Not right, Paul? You've got to progress into the senior team.
I think you've got to take each player on his merit, I think. There's no point progressing a player to the seniors if all we're going to do is sit on the bench. It's far more valuable to a player for getting international experience. He's going to come away with under-21s and actually play.
Yeah, okay.
What's interesting...
we've seen so many players been promoted maybe too quickly, and then they've gone on, to the international wasteland. We've never seen them again.
Yeah, right. There's an interesting statistic in the Times this morning, actually, Paul, and it's got the number of players in the under-21 the championship squads who are already capped by the senior teams. And England have only got, I think, 3 players who have only got between them 5 caps, and that's Ward-Prowse, Redmond and Chambers, right? You've got something like Macedonia. You've got 12 players with 44 caps. You've got Poland, 4 players with 33 caps. So not everyone is taking it as kind of, shall we say, ethically as we are.
No, they're not. I mean, and that's also because we're lucky in this country at the moment, England, although sometimes we may not realise it. We've actually got sort of quite a rich vein of young footballers coming through at the moment. There's quite a cluster. And if you look at the England team, you look at the senior team, there are actually a number of players in there. Marcus Rashford, Eric Dyer, and they could all still play for this. They could all be eligible for this group. So that's why we can't afford to, if you like, promote players too soon. We need to hold them back because they need to be playing, because some of them, unfortunately, are not playing as much for their club side as maybe as England fans would like to see.
OK. Now, is this tournament traditionally, Paul, does it have the same sort of rules as every other sort of World Cup tournament, European tournament? That is, we all play a number of games and then the Germans pick up the trophy.
Yeah, unfortunately. Well, not about the Germans picking up the trophy. Obviously, the Swedes won it last time out. Yeah. But certainly in recent times, the last 3 tournaments, it certainly followed the old English tradition of where we go really well in qualifying. Yeah. Then we get to the finals and we play like a dog. The last 3 years we've failed to progress beyond the group stage. So, but you see there's a real determination in the camp this time to put that right. There's a number of players, Nathan Redmond, I think, James Ward-Prowse have played. Nathaniel Chalobah as well. He's played in
3 tournaments, the last 3 tournaments in which England, I think they've won 1 of their 9 games.
Right.
So, it makes the history books make for sorry reading, and, but hopefully they'll be able to put that right there this time.
Okay. Now, Jordan Pickford may be the 3rd most expensive goalkeeper in the world. However, there is one goalkeeper there as well, who some people would say is even better than him, and that's Gianluigi Donnarumma, who is AC Milan's 18-year-old goalkeeper, who, if Pickford's worth 30 million, must be worth about 60, mustn't he?
Yeah, they're talking. I mean, this lad, I think he's played for AC Milan since he was 16, hasn't he?
Right.
Yeah.
And there's talk about him. Talk about transfers and transfer fees. The reports coming out of Italy that he's rejected a new contract, and there's going to be a mad summer scramble across Europe for this goalkeeper's signature. But when you consider that we always consider goalkeepers getting better with age, and we've seen the likes, certainly in the Premier League, the likes of Brad Friedel, Mark Schwarzer, etc., carry on playing until almost in their 40s. Yeah. And yet we've seen a young lad here who's playing for one of Europe's top sides at the age of 18. It must show. I mean, I've not seen him play personally. I can't remember seeing him play, but it must show the calibre of him. Yeah. He's obviously a great keeper.
Yeah. Now, Paul, from your experience, we're having a rush now of great results with the younger teams. The kids, the youths, the under-21s hopefully will pursue this as well. Is this anything to do with St George's Park? I mean, is the legacy of St George's Park coming through, or is it still, in some people's eyes, a bit of a white elephant buried away in the Staffordshire countryside where nothing much happens?
Hey, look, I will say, so I'll agree on the point it's buried away in the Staffordshire countryside where nothing much happened. But there's clearly a correlation between the two, isn't there? This can't be coincidence that the reason we're suddenly starting to play well is that we're 10 years into St George's now. Yeah. I think 10 years since it's opened, and we're now starting to see the results of that. Mm-hmm. They promised us when the FA promised us when it was built, when they were building it, that that it would give the England set up, and by that I mean the seniors all the way down to the under-15s, more of a club feel, if you like. Now, that's what their desire was. Their aim was to turn it into more of a club situation for the national team. Right. And that seems to be working, I don't subscribe with all the fancy marketing when it's, give England their DNA. But on that note, we do have teams now that are playing in the same way, they're being coached in the same way. Yeah. And there's a lot of interaction between the age groups. So, for example, when England, the senior team are there, often because of the way they want to do their drills or their practice games, then they'll call a couple of members of the younger squads over to take part in training, which is a great learning curve for them. I mean, you imagine if you're an under-17 and under-20 international and suddenly you're training with the England senior team. Yeah. Albeit as only making up the numbers in a drill, but nonetheless, the experience you're going to pick up on that is going to be invaluable and hopefully stand you in good stead for a future international career. Yeah,
absolutely right. Well, listen, Paul, thank you very much indeed. We're out of time, unfortunately. Paul Jiggins there from The Sun, out in Poland for the Under-21 Championship. England taking on Sweden later on this evening at 5 o'clock. Slovakia against England is on the 19th of June, and on the 22nd is England against Poland. Yep. That's a 7:45 kickoff. We'll bring you all those games right here, of course, on talkSPORT.
OK, folks, this is the Two Mics. We're on talkSPORT and we are with Wix. Now, save 35%. Selected lawnmowers like the Flymo 37cm electric lawnmower was £79.99. Now, £49.99. Hurry, the offer ends on Monday.
Indeed. Now, we were talking about bridge a little bit earlier on, now that it has been officially recognised as a sport. Another sport which is now being officially recognised by the Olympics, indeed is surfing. It's going to be in Tokyo 2020. It's going to become an Olympic event for the first time, which is great. We're going to talk now to Luke Dillon, who is, in fact,
our leading surfer,
highest-ranked surfer in the entire nation. Luke, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Mike. How are you?
Yeah, very well indeed. Very well indeed. Thanks very much for joining us. It looks like you're sort of coming into the business of surfing just at the right time, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've timed it quite well.
How long have you been surfing then, Luke?
I started when I was 8.
8, yeah. And what is the first experience that somebody who's trying to learn how to surf today would get when he climbed up on a surfboard? That it's very unsteady?
Yes. You can go down to any beaches and grab a surf lesson with the local surf schools down there, and then, you see how you find it.
Yes, I see. I went down to Senna Cove a couple of years ago, in Cornwall.
Yeah, very nice.
That's right.
I'm in Newquay.
Yes, a good man, that's right. So after about 3.5 bottles of Pinot at that beautiful bar, on the Santa Cove beach, and the surf school is next door, I decided I was going to go out on a surfboard, Fortunately, Wiser Counsel talked me out of it because it's not easy, is it, balancing on a board on the top of a wave? How long does it take you to actually get to the point, Luke, where you can stand up on the surfboard?
Well, everyone's different, really. I've had friends that I've taken out, and they've done it first time. Just a few pointers on the beach, and then taken them out, and they've took to it, really easy. And then I've had other guys. I worked in a surf school last summer, and it took them maybe like 3 lessons, a couple of hours to get it, and then they were off on their feet from there. So it's quite individual, really.
Oh, I see.
And is it easier to learn in a place like? I mean, I know the surf is as big as it probably can be around places like Newquay, where a lot of the surfing goes on around Britain. But is it easier to learn in a place where the waves are smaller, if you like?
Oh yeah, definitely. If you can try, the perfect waves are probably knee to waist high.
Okay.
Quite soft. Clean waves, not a lot of wind, and that's like your ideal scenario. Obviously, that's quite hard in Britain because the weather and the conditions change quite a lot. So but it's better if it's small. It gives everyone a level playing field, and it makes it as easy as it can be. Right.
That's right. Now, without being immodest, Luke, how do you compare to the sort of guys we see rolling in on surf in California, and Bondi Beach,
in the tube,
in the tube, and all that kind of stuff? How do you rate?
I don't really know. I try and put myself in the same category. It's quite hard with the waves we get in Britain. I have to travel all year round as much as I can.
Sure.
And I'm on the World Qualifying Series, which is the professional tour, as it were. And that's how you get, if you are in the top 10 of that in the world, then you progress onto the main stage. It's pretty much it's almost like the football pyramid. I'm in like the championship level when I'm trying to get into the Premiership.
I see, yeah.
And what do you have to do to qualify to get into, say, Team GB? Because the hope is that the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo will recognise surfing for the first time. And does Team GB have to qualify to get there, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we're not really clear on the information yet. It's all quite new, and everyone's trying to find out as much information as they can. As far as I'm aware, I think it's one individual from maybe 20, 30 countries.
Yeah.
And then I think they're going to be doing qualifying events within the next 3 years in regions. So I've heard that's not 100%, but GB would have to qualify in Europe and then get a spot in Tokyo 2020.
Sure. Now, we're told it's one of the fastest growing sports in Britain, surfboarding. I mean, I suppose you can put that down to the fact that people have a bit more leisure time now, get to the beach, get the surfboard. It's a very glamorous sport as well, isn't it? Does it attract the wrong sort of people, who like to sort of pose around with, their muscle tones on surfboards and tight shorts?
What do you mean by the wrong sort of people?
Well, Flash Harrys.
Well, the good thing about surfing is it brings in, everybody. I've taken, kids surfing that have, never even been to the beach before. And then I've also taken, elderly people that have been coming to Cornwall for, the last 50, 60 years.
Yep.
So you've got everybody. But the thing about surfing, which is obviously I quite enjoy, is that it doesn't matter who you are when you're outside the water. When you go in, everyone is in the same playing field, no matter if you've done it for the last 25 years or you've never been before. It's something that you can't, it's hard to explain really, but it's, the personalities all diminish as soon as you go into the water.
Yeah, and it's quite a cool sport as well, isn't it? It's a bit like skateboarding. I mean, people who skateboard and people who surf are generally thought to be pretty chilled out types of people, especially down in Newquay, right?
Yeah, 100%. Personalities obviously it's the same if you grow up in England or Australia. It's all like your friendship groups and how much you get to go in the water. But it's like you said, where most surfers and skaters are quite chilled, and we just kind of go with what's happening and don't tend to be too aggressive. But you do have your others who like to get a bit aggressive, and it happens in all sorts of sports.
Sure. Now, Luke, you clearly earn your living as an instructor in surfing and all that, but how much actual practice do you have to put in to get right to the top of your profession? A snooker player practices for 6 hours a day. Do you have to put all that sort of dedicated effort in?
Yeah, so I do my surfing professionally. I try and travel as much as I can on a budget. I'm quite lucky to be sponsored by a brewery company down in Cornwall.
Oh, yeah?
Korev Lager. So, I'm really lucky to have them backing me. And
congratulations for getting the name in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
they'll be very happy about that.
Yeah, good.
Porky suddenly sort of perked up there when you mentioned the brewery company.
Good idea.
But I'll tell you what surprised me, Luke, to be honest, is apparently there's nearly 1 million people surfing in this country now, or paddleboarding and bodyboarding.
Where are they all
together? I mean, you don't see that many of them around here.
Well, yeah, like you said, like during the summer months or spring, autumn, when it's hard because in the UK the waters get quite cold in the winter, and so nobody wants to go to the beach when it's 5 degrees, howling winds, raining. So yeah, we tend to get all of ours between maybe like March and October.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a lot of people surfing now, and I think the people that come down on holiday to Cornwall and Devon or wherever, when they try surfing, they kind of get addicted to it. Whether they try and come down more and more, or just whenever they're down, they go surfing, and it catches on quite quickly.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Now, you will remember recently, Luke, poor chap up in Scotland, he wasn't a surfer like you, he was a windsurfer, wasn't he? And he got 30 miles out to sea.
He nearly went to Northern Ireland.
He nearly went to Northern Ireland, yeah. Now, he said from his hospital bed afterwards that one of the challenges of what he does, and I assume it might be the same with you, is it's you against the sea. And that when you're surfing, you're so completely focused on what you're doing, it is actually a terribly therapeutic sport to help sort of, train your brain and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. It's something you've got to be very wary of because, like you said, you're against the environment. There's no elements you can control, so you have to have your wits about you. You can't just sit there and daydream, because like he said, it just happened to him, and it all happened so fast, and then suddenly, you're 30 miles offshore, and you're floating, and that's what happens. So, no, it is really fun, but there is obviously that danger side. You have to be quite, active, really, just to concentrate. But it's always a lot of fun. He must have just been caught in a horrible situation.
Yeah, sure. Well, that's
Absolutely
great. Well,
right.
Listen, Luke, we wish you all the very, very best indeed.
Particularly qualifying for the Olympics.
Indeed. And, make your country proud, man. I'm sure you will. And, keep living good life in Newquay.
Right. Exactly. Thank you very much indeed. Luke Dillon there, who is Britain's highest-ranked surfer, competing on the World Surfing League
That's
qualifying
great,
series.
At 22, right, he's Britain's top surfer.
Yeah.
That's, you would attract a lot of female attention, wouldn't you?
Why would that be of any interest to you?
What do you mean it would be of interest to me?
I mean, we've got the Porky Quiz to think about.
I know, yeah.
That's coming up next.
I was thinking about being 22 and a surfer.
Yeah, well, those days are gone, I'm afraid. It's all over for you. This is talkSPORT Quiz, as well as actually listening to it on the radio. We're going to put out a link on Twitter.
We're also, I'm
going to put it out very, very shortly. But first, of course, I'm going to have to call for producer Izzy to bring in the questions, because they're coming out of a Trivial Pursuit box.
Here they come. Yeah.
Here they are.
Great.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, we're going to pull them out of this particular box. The box, you can see, is not actually sealed.
No.
You'll be pleased to know. However, as I open the box, you'll be able to see that inside there are several things, including a board.
I'm a former Trivial Pursuit champion, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Trivial Pursuit champion?
Yeah, of the 80s.
How about this here? Oh, look, they're all sealed.
Oh, right, there you
go.
How
about that?
Yeah, okay.
So I'll take one pack which is sealed. Would you like to examine them?
Yes, please. Yeah.
You examine those, you can see that they are in fact sealed. I'm going to move this box over here.
Okay.
To make sure that everything is above board.
All right.
Okay, now what we're going to do, basically, is... In fact, why don't you open those while I send out this this tweet? Just open them, but don't do anything.
No, I won't do anything, no.
Because, obviously, what we have to do is we're going to give you 2 questions from each colour, right? Which normally means what you will get is 2 questions from...
the 6 colours?
6 colours, which means it comes into 12, right?
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Sounds good to me.
Now, just as I pick out this... let me just send this tweet out.
These are the bridge cards from early, by the way. Just in case the, the viewers are...
Well, the viewers are watching you doing whatever you're going to be doing. Yeah. Right, now, you have blue, you have magenta, you have yellow, you have purple, you have green, and you have orange, basically.
Yeah.
I've just cut the cards now, so why don't you, in fact, decide to choose which colour you want to go for first?
Right, well, as ever, I will start with the blue, please.
You will start with the blue one. Okay, here's one. In which country would you spend reals?
Reals?
Yeah.
You would spend reals in... Now then, let me think. Having been all around the world and spent currencies in... I'm thinking aloud here, by the way, just thinking aloud. Reals, in my view, are a currency of a Middle East country, and I would say probably, and I don't know if there's a joint currency amongst the UAE, but it could be the UAE.
I'll have to hurry you because we have to get through 12 questions.
I'm going to say Saudi Arabia.
Incorrect.
No!
It is, in fact, Brazil.
Brazil?
Yeah.
That's
so you got that
in the Middle East.
All right, question number 2. What colour?
Magenta, please.
Magenta. Which artist famously exhibited a urinal as a sculpture in 1917?
A urinal, you mean?
A urinal, yeah.
Yeah, you said a urinal. What's a urinal?
Isn't a urinal the same thing?
No, urinal. Sorry, what's a stupid question again?
What artist famously exhibited a urinal as a sculpture in 1917?
1917?
Yeah.
Well, that's like a century ago.
Yeah, it's exactly a century ago.
Yeah, well, that would have been like...
well, it's probably a history question then, isn't it?
Yeah, probably. That would be... sorry, what's the nationality of this guy?
I'm not going to tell you. I can't tell you that.
Right,
okay. His name.
I think it was... Is he an artist or a sculptor?
It says which artist.
Artist,
That's
okay.
the question.
Well, in that case, it almost certainly... the bloke, did all the cubism. What's his name?
The cubism.
Yeah, the French guy had all the mistresses and things. you know what I mean? Yeah.
No, well, I do, but I'm not giving it to you.
Oh,
I'm not giving it to you.
Okay.
Come up with a name.
I'm going to say Salvador Dali.
Incorrect.
No.
It is, in fact, Marcel Duchamp.
Marcel Duchamp. Never ever heard of Marcel
Well,
Duchamp. It had to be a Frenchman, didn't it? Because they have the
Never mind that.
Wars or whatever they're called, don't
family
they?
show, this.
It's a family show, but that's the official name of them in French.
Now, question number
streets.
3. What colour?
Yeah. Green, please.
Green. Which is the odd one out? Comice, Green Gage, Damson, or Mirabelle?
What?
Which is the odd one out? Comice,
Yeah.
Green Gage, Damson, or Mirabelle?
Well, one of those is a colour, and the other 3 are names of ski resorts.
I'm told you're going to have to hurry up massively.
Right.
Ski resorts.
Repeat them to me
Comice, Green Gage, Damson, or Mirabelle?
It is Green Gage.
Incorrect.
No.
It is Comice. It's a pear, whereas the others are all varieties of plum.
Oh.
And by the way, Mirabelle is not a ski resort, is it? Yeah. Question number 4. What colour?
Orange, please.
Orange, okay. Who was the bowler when Yuvraj Singh hit 6 sixes for India against England in the 2007 T20 World Cup? You'll never get this
Sorry,
one.
what?
I can't keep repeating it.
No, just say...
Who was the bowler?
Yeah.
That's the question.
What was the year?
2007 2020 World Cup.
I reckon that was probably the bowler, yes.
For England.
Was it our very own... No, it wasn't, because he doesn't get hit six times. Steve Harmison.
Incorrect.
No!
It's Stuart Broad.
Stuart Broad.
You got 0 out of 4 so
it was
far.
Stuart Broad, yeah.
All right, next colour, please.
I've run out of colours. I need to know the 2 after the 4 I've done.
You've got yellow or purple.
Right, yellow, please.
Okay, yellow. Which ship was raised in 1982 after over 400 years after it sank?
I've seen it. And I see it often, and I know it, and it is a local landmark.
Yeah.
It's King Henry VIII's flagship, the Mary Rose.
Correct.
Hooray!
Thought you'd get that one. Finally. Question number 6. You'll have to have, I believe, a...
purple.
The purple one, yeah.
Yes.
Actually, no, you've done purple, haven't you?
No, I've done...
You did magenta.
Yeah.
Which literary character entered England from a boat in Whitby in the form of a dog?
That would have been Bram Stoker.
Incorrect.
No! That can't be. No, that Bram Stoker wrote Dracula.
Yeah, well, Dracula's the answer, not Bram Stoker.
No, what did you say?
I said which character.
You said which author?
No, I said which
No, I'm
character.
sorry. I want to change my answer to Dracula. No. Oh, come off it. No. Come on. I thought you said which author.
Well, you should have listened properly.
Oh, that's outrageous.
Now, you're back to blue now. You're going to listen to the question.
Yeah, but I knew that answer. I knew it was Whitby. I've been there.
Well, I don't care. Which country's name starts with a Q?
What?
Which country's name starts with a Q?
What do you mean? Which country? There's only one country starts with a Q. It's Qatar.
Correct.
Hooray!
That was easy, wasn't it?
That's my third one.
Magenta now. In 1997, who copyrighted How You Could Write His Name?
Right, I know the answer to this one. In 97, are we talking about?
Yes.
Who copyrighted How You Could Write His Name?
Yeah.
Prince.
Correct.
Thank you!
Now,
woo!
green, okay?
Yeah.
The capybara is the world's largest what?
The what, sorry?
The capybara.
Capybara?
Yeah, it's the world's largest what?
Capybara. The capybara is the world's largest... capybara. Yes, I think it is the world's largest freshwater lake.
Incorrect.
No.
It's the world's largest rodent, actually.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Next question. What unusual aid might someone practising hirudotherapy use?
Hirudotherapy?
Yes.
I know this. I'm thinking aloud here, but I think I've got it right. Hot stones.
Incorrect.
No!
It's actually leeches.
Leeches?
Yeah.
Yuck. Only leeches.
Now, yellow. Hang on, where are we?
Yeah.
Yellow.
Yeah.
Which legend is Tintagel Castle in Cornwall associated with?
It is... which legend?
Yeah.
Now, do you mean which king? King Arthur and his round table. I'm thinking aloud.
Which legend?
Or Merlin the Wizard.
Yeah, which legend?
Which legend?
Yeah.
Merlin the Wizard is the answer.
Actually, it's King Arthur.
Oh, King Arthur. I said King Arthur. Why didn't you take my first answer?
You were thinking aloud.
You should have taken my first answer.
Final question. You've so far got 3 out of 11. Can you get 4 out of 12? And the final question is a purple one. Which popular to his already bulging CV in 2005?
2005?
Yeah.
He's a poet.
Well, he's a polymath, it says here.
It's a polymath. Well, he writes poetry. A polymath who writes poetry.
Added a book of poetry.
Okay. In 2005?
Yeah.
I reckon that would have been... I think like Sebastian Faulks.
Incorrect.
No!
It is Stephen Fry, believe it or not.
Stephen Fry.
Yeah.
Didn't even know he was
you have, in fact, got exactly what I said you'd get. 3 out of 12.
Well, I haven't. I got 5.
Absolutely shocking.
I got Dracula. I got Dracula.
No, you didn't. You got Bram Stoker, which was wrong.
And I got King Arthur and his round table.
No, you didn't. You said Merlin.
No, I didn't. I
These
said
are
Merlin.
very specific questions. There was no gerrymandering.
No.
Trivial Pursuit. You got 3 right out of 12. It's absolutely awful. 25%. Failed. This is talkSPORT. This is the Two Mics on talkSPORT with a Wick. Save 35% on selected lawn mowers like the Flymo 37cm electric lawn mower. Was $79.99, now just $49.99. And you better hurry because the offer ends on a Monday. Now, we're going to award a £100 Wix voucher soon as well, which will probably go to one of our Sunderland callers, I think. But I'll let you know in a minute. Scott says this: I thought Porky said he didn't dither. He's just taken 10 minutes to answer 2 questions and got both wrong.
No, I didn't get them wrong. I got some of them right. There's a tremendous amount of sympathy for me on the
I wouldn't say that.
on social networking, saying you should have got 2 more.
Dave says,
once again,
Dave says this: after that shocking performance in the Porky Quiz, Mike Parry should be put on a surfboard 30 miles ashore.
Cool, that's very nice, isn't it? Wishing me harm.
Yeah.
Now listen, when you were up in Scotland, right?
Yeah.
And did you actually get close to the novelist Ian Rankin?
I did actually, yes.
Because
I interviewed him once on the radio,
right?
And because he used to listen to my show,
yes.
And funnily enough, when he came in, he said to me, "I had a completely different view of who you might look like."
Oh, really?
He said, "I thought you'd have sort of love and hate tattooed on your hands."
You or him?
He said that to me.
He said that to you?
Yeah.
Why, do you think you were a bit of a sort of boneheaded,
thuggish,
shock jock?
Something like that, yeah.
Oh,
but we became quite matey, actually,
yes.
And I had a drink with him a couple of times, and he's a big fan of record collecting and all that sort of thing.
Right.
Terribly successful.
Because he's an OBE, and he's a recently elected Fellow of the Royal Society of Literature.
Yeah.
He's also a multi-millionaire author, of course,
he is.
who invented the character Inspector Rebus.
He used to live, I'm not sure if he still does, he used to be a next-door neighbour of J.K. Rowling.
Oh, really?
Up in Edinburgh, yeah.
So that
in the sort of Millionaire's Row of Edinburgh.
I was going to say adjoining castles or
yes.
whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, the reason I ask you is because Rebus has become so popular.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a very popular TV series
yes.
for a certain class of people.
Well, I always liked
But the books are worldwide, aren't they? I mean, the books are worldwide. I always liked it as well. I thought it was tremendously gritty and tough. But as a tribute to all this, there's going to be in a couple of weeks' time, there's going to be a Rebus Fest. Rebus Fest, taking place in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
From June the 30th to July the 2nd.
Well, of course, the famous place where people like to go and hang out is the Oxford Bar,
right,
which is round the back of the main sort of George Street in Edinburgh.
Now,
you probably won't remember that well because when we were there, we were up sort of in the place where the Gilded Balloon was and where all the Edinburgh Festival stuff was going on.
Yeah.
George Street, I don't think we ever really went to, but it's kind of, we would have driven past past it.
Yes.
You know, it was like the big shopping
street.
Not
the Golden Mile.
Not the Prince's Street, which is where the trams go.
That's right,
But it was kind of the next one over.
Yeah, okay,
which is where all the nice shops are and a couple of hotels and things.
That's right. And did he tell you how he invented this character, Rebus? I mean, what did he base him on and all this sort of stuff?
Well, not really. I think he just kind of, because he's from Edinburgh, he just liked the idea of writing about a character in Edinburgh. And I suppose because he had a penchant for crime, he thought, what better than to invent a police detective?
Yeah.
Who is a kind of gritty, slightly flawed character, and I mean, he's a great character.
Absolutely,
he really is.
And apparently, the reason they use the Oxford bar is because when he was a student, it was the only place students could afford to drink.
Yeah, maybe
it was a bit of a grubby little place.
I mean, it's a nice little bar, but it's not a place you would spend a lot of time in, if you know what I mean. You know?
Yeah,
I mean, it's all right.
And what happened was, it's near a cop shop, and what they used to witness were cops coming in after a hard day's work, get absolutely bladderated.
Yes, in the days when they were allowed to do that sort of thing.
That's right. Yeah. And over the years, he saw so many cops' relationships break down because of the sort of job they did, and he would often spend, hours in the pub with a maudlin cop sitting next to him, bleating about, how life had been so unfair,
I mean,
which provided a lot of material for his books.
You'll remember the days when, the old Fleet Street was still going, and the old sort of Snow Hill police station was still going, and everybody used to meet up in Vagabond's pub.
Yeah, that's right.
Club, rather, which was open till about 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And it was always full of cops and journalists.
Of course it was,
all sorts of relationships were going very wrong.
And you sometimes couldn't tell one from the other.
No.
I mean, we had a mate called Tim Miles, right? And Tim...
Still around, Tim.
Tim's a great guy.
Yes.
He was a terrific journalist, and when I became the news editor of the Express, I was dismayed to find out that they made him the news editor of the Daily Mail. But the problem was, Tim didn't like organising things. He liked being out there on the ground with cops and people like that.
Actually getting the stories.
Yeah, he was a terrifically good journalist. Yeah. And then Sky opened up, right? And then so
I remember he went over to Sky.
Yeah, he went over to Sky. But the problem was, in the first interview he did, Tim was interviewing a copper, right? And they had identical clothing on, the standard Mac, the standard suit, the standard lapel turned up on the Mac.
Right.
And the producer of the show said, which one's our correspondent and which one's the cop? Because Tim had taken on all the mannerisms of policemen. He'd worked with them for so many years.
Was there not also an incident where they went to him to go live on something or other?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure whether this was part of a screen test or whether it was actually real and it actually went out. And he was smoking. He's quite a heavy smoker.
He was.
Given up now, of course, as we all have. And he kind of put the cigarette behind his back because he didn't want to put it out. And then as the camera was sort of nosing in his face, you could see this pillar of smoke coming out
behind his head. Yeah.
It's all very strange.
Yeah.
Anyway, top man, he is.
Oh, yeah.
This is the Two Mics on talkSPORT, I should say. Well, we are with Wix, and every day we give away a £100 Wix gift card to the best caller. Today's winner is Colin, the Sunderland fan, who was happy to see the club finally relegated because it means they can stop the rot and rebuild.
That's right.
I'm not certain they can do that,
Well, I think it'll be a very challenging summer for them, which will only last about another 2.5 weeks before they have to get back into pre-season training. And nobody quite knows who's in charge. I think it's the same thing. I didn't realise that Palace, of course, haven't appointed a new manager yet. And somebody asked me who's in charge there. Has Sammy Lee left the club? Did he leave the club with...
with Sam Allardyce?
With Sam Allardyce.
Yeah, he went down to Crystal Palace, didn't he? Are you talking about?
No, that's what I'm saying. Sammy Lee went to Crystal Palace to assist Sam.
Yes.
But then when Big Sam left, did Little Sam leave?
Well, I don't know because they haven't appointed a new manager yet, so maybe he hasn't. Maybe he's going to wait and see who they get.
Yeah, exactly.
And see whether or not, in fact, his services may still be required.
Yes, exactly.
And they must need some kind of sort of bridging person anyway, right? Between
not only that,
Sam
but
Allardyce leaving and the new guy arriving.
Who's recalling the players from the holidays for pre-season training and all that kind of stuff?
Exactly.
Where's the disciplinary code, so to speak,
Absolutely
you
right.
Need to know.
Unfortunately, we can't answer those questions because we're out of time.
Right.
We will be back tomorrow, though, for the warm-up. 11 o'clock.
Yep, 11
Be there, or at B Square. This is talkSPORT. Don't forget to follow the Two Mics, at the Two Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mics TV.